Here we go. All right, everyone, welcome to the FC chat. Today, awesome guest, a friend of mine, the one and only, the Lord of lowsec, or maybe not as much anymore. He kind of retired.
Retired.
Retired. Yeah. We actually did run a lot of fleets together or co-ordered together over what, like years, right? Probably
Yeah, yes.
3 years, something like this. Ever since,
Yeah.
like I would say after World War B, kind of, right?
I think one of the first main ones we did was that F7C fight, if you remember that.
Yeah,
Where
I
we
for
like
sure
fought
remember
like
that one. Honey Monster died like a hero. That was a
that was a
really,
really good fight.
yeah, that was a legendary fight, I would say. I think at the time I didn't even realize how good it was, but now
Yeah.
looking back, really good. Yeah, I mean, I could talk hours about that fight alone. Yeah, but yeah, mostly known, I would say, for being or not only known but feared for like dread bombs and such. Always looking to hit the big guys, and yeah, I would say. So I've got a couple questions lined up. Um, the Vegas stuff is lined up. What else do I have? Like general questions, right? That I like to, uh, see what FCs in general, especially from other like space and stuff, with a fresh point of view. Think about, and then also I'm gonna start with a couple sub questions, right?
Yeah.
Um, Before the stream, I usually ping my sub channel and see if they've got any interesting questions. Sometimes the questions aren't as interesting, I leave them out, but there's some funny ones in here. All right, so to just get to know you a little bit before we go deep into like Vegas or whatever. So let me start with an interesting one. So what's your number one fleet snack and beverage? I thought maybe there's something good here. It could be
You
nothing, but
know,
hey, let's see. You got
that's
anything
actually an
anything special?
interesting question because normally when you do fleets, they take up so much of your fucking time. Your fleet snack ends up being your fucking dinner, first of all. And
I
normally,
know.
yeah. And then like I guess it's normally just water because like it does drain you a bit and you kind of like it's really weird. I don't know if people have experienced this, but like if you like video game for a while and you especially when you're FCing, your decision making gets quite bad unless you actually like drink water. You kind of need to refresh yourself and rehydrate. It's very important.
There you go, healthy high. I have to
Exactly.
say, you know what? I get hangry over time, like when I don't eat or something. Like I don't want to eat right before the fleet, but I don't want to be hungry during, right? So I always have that, like in the middle of the fleet. If I'm really hungry, that's not good. I usually don't make the
Yeah,
best decisions then. I
exactly.
that's maybe that's just a feeling. Maybe I have to approach it more scientifically and actually collect some data on it.
Once your
But
blood
I'm pretty
sugar
sure
gets low and then your blood pressure rises and stuff like that because you're old, panda. And then you need
it's almost like you know about medicine and stuff.
oh, well, must be something to do with my ethnicity. Anyways,
All right, all right. So what's your what's the wait a second, you didn't say anything. What's the number one
what?
snack? Like water and
Snack. Oh, okay,
you
yeah,
got
yeah.
nothing special? If you don't have anything special, it's
I
fine.
just really eat everything. I'm not really a. I don't really have one snack. If I think of something, I'll get back to you. But I literally, actually, that's a lie. Not most of my time, I'd be drinking tea and eating cake. That's my snack in the day normally.
To be fair, I didn't even think about it for myself. I wouldn't know it either.
Exactly.
Maybe
I just eat
Knoppers.
everything.
For everyone who's not German, look up Knoppers. Knoppers is awesome. Actually, haven't eaten Knoppers in a while, but good shit.
I
Alright.
can eat my knopper any day. Anyways,
No, thanks. That's alright. That's Honey Monster's job.
oh,
Alright. So, and then the next question, we could probably put it in somewhere here, but it's from Blackbirds. How bad is Pando to co-ord with on a scale to 10? And I think he's asking because I mentioned it a couple times that Coding
So
stuff is not my strong suit, really.
it's actually very interesting because I've never had an issue with Pando because I guess my English is quite like better and I can like actually normally what would happen is it's very much dependent. So the way that it would work is normally if I was with Tao would be doing like most of the fleet stuff, and then I'd be doing like a subset of something. So like target calling or like coordinating. So when I was there and I coordinated with Pando, it was absolutely fine. But when like it was just Tao and Pando, Tao would struggle to coordinate because English isn't his like first subject, so he'll just type stuff out and it'll be quite short. And then because he can't like do both coordinating comms and normal comms as well sometimes, so I guess that was difficult for him. But I never really had an issue coordinating with Pando. I'm quite famous in the Dark Shines thing though for saying "get here now" because like multiple times we've just been in situations and I've just been like "get here now," like when we tackled the NC Titans in Orbital, and I
I
was
know
like,
that
"Come
just too well. So that's like a running gag, like to get here now.
yeah,
I had that with like I always felt like with Tau, it wasn't that much language based, but a little bit more like FC style based. Like um, he likes the quick form up, like kind of stuff, you know. And I like
yeah,
my ops to be completely planned out if I can, right? So I have a plan, like this is the perfect way to for things to go down, and then we go from here to here, right? I have that in my
yeah."
mind a little bit, and then Tao suddenly rushes, you know? He's like
Well, it's more
suddenly
he's
he's
brief. Yeah, he's very brief in way. That's what I meant by language. I guess he's just kind
yeah he cuts it short then, and then the combination of that, I think, uh, I had some issues in the past. But I mean, no drama or anything, but it was quite interesting. For example, I mean, the last time was like a bomb run we were setting up in normal bombers, and I had all the bookmarks set up and everything, and then he suddenly changes the place where he wants to take the fight, and I couldn't
of
get there in time, even though he had the time to, to let me set it up and then move. No, he moved over right away, like a little bit impatient, and then we ended up bombing, but it wasn't on point. And yeah, it was kind of sad. But that was one of those get here now moments too, right? Like when
yeah.
is the
No,
timer
I know
out?
you're
Oh, it's
talking
all
about
right. It's out already, right? Hey, can you come help? Like when is the timer? Oh, it's out, right?
we like
It's
to
just
keep you on your feet, Panda. Throw you into Titan fights and stuff like that. It's
yeah, yeah. I mean, that was also
yeah.
a good fight.
Uh, I'll go into details of the actual progression of that, like how the decision making of that fight as well. But nah, like Tao is very much, and this is what made him probably like one of the best FCs in the game. Is he was very much a like snap decision maker. He wouldn't dwell on stuff, which would mean that he would actually take risks where other people wouldn't, and normally they'd pay off just because he had the skill behind. And that's where like Tao kind of excelled. Like he was very skilled at like adapting to a situation quite quickly and then just taking risks that other people wouldn't, which is something that you don't see much.
Yeah, I would agree, right? When I would still be sitting there thinking, how much do I have here? How much do I have there? Should we do this? Should we do that? Tao would probably already jump in. Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually
All right.
very interesting. But for like O1Y, which was like the Titan fight, uh, he was already on grid, and I just woken up because I saw his ping for like Titans. And I just got onto TeamSpeak. It's like half awake. This was like 1 p.m. by the way. It's a weekend. It's my holidays. Actually, it's my holiday, so it's on the weekend. I just like woke up, got on my PC, and like I mided my Titan, and then I just like asked for these scans and stuff, and then of like what they have ready, like Titan wise. And I just asked how many Titans we have, and like Tao's like, Tao drops turrets on their dreads, and they escalate further, and then he's like, and then I'm like, let's just drop Titans, and like I'm just woken up and I don't really know what we're doing, and we just completely went in and YOLO'd it, and that was purely because we were getting to the point where we were like, this is probably like the only chance we're gonna get like a small scale Titan fight, and we just took it, even though they had more Titans from the get go. It's probably like one of the best risks we took because it was one of the most fun things.
It was a good. I mean, I streamed that fight, so you can see my reaction. I didn't know shit. Like I didn't know they're gonna, you're gonna drop Titans or anything.
And that's because
Like
of me.
he
I
told me
just gave
like 10 seconds before or something, right? And it's like I'm not surprised. I wasn't like super surprised or anything. Right? I knew it was a possibility. but like I think a minute before he said we're midding Titans, which not always means we're dropping them, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, in a fight like where I consider myself a quick thinker in doctrines like Stukas and stuff like this. Like I make decisions right away. But if you whelp a Stuka fleet or like even um any like subcap, I mean, unless it's super shiny, whatever, right? You know, what's the risk really? You're not gonna, especially like Munins and stuff. You'll always get most of them out anyway. But with Titans and Supers and Dreads and all that stuff, you know, you get stuck really quick.
Yeah. Well, that was the other thing as well. You kind of have to evaluate who you're fighting. So, for example, we kind of knew that we would hold the subcup grid against UTG, especially with you there, which meant that we could kind of get our Titans out kind of, easily, I guess is one way to put it. Yeah,
That
there were
was
a lot of
close as
mistakes in that
shit.
fight.
The last
Yeah.
couple bombs, I'm not even kidding. I had like, I don't know, 3 or 4
Yeah.
bombs left. Yeah. And there was
Yeah.
another, so before that, there was another sub question that's a little bit more serious, but then that kind of segues perfect into Isa's question. She asked, how do FCs handle multitasking in fleets, you think? Is there any specific approach you've got? It's like a broad question. But in this case, I could actually talk about it because um, I'm not good at multitasking at all. That's why I'm also not good at coding and stuff. I like to focus on that one thing and do it correctly and as good as I can, and then have some other people handle the rest. And in this case, also like because I didn't know, I wasn't prepared for it. It was a quick form kinda. Um, I didn't have any plan to move Dreads or Titans or Supers or any of that stuff, and it's a couple regions away. So then I was put in that into that situation, and Tao telling me, "Hey, like bring some caps," right? And I'm like, "Dude, I'm kind of stuck here trying to save your Titans right now. Like, what am I doing?" And then Bliss came on, and Bliss didn't have any time anyway, and he was kind of
Yeah.
mad. It's like, what the fuck? Now I have to like FC supers or what? I have to go
Well,
and all that stuff.
yeah.
So yeah,
It was very much like I looked back on the fight, like we basically went in like without thinking at all. We just kind of just took the fight. Like I hadn't like pre-fit the Titans to a specific tank, which is what you'd normally do. I hadn't like thought about how DD stuff. I could have slipped in another DD and taken out another Titan. For example, when we were still clearing the dreads, I just didn't think about that at the time, and I probably could have saved one or two more Titans by just like looking at the field a bit better. But like it's just small things like that, and you kind of like it was very much just a like let's just do this just because it was something that looked
you
fun.
know,
And yeah,
you have to give credit also to GTG because you guys are kind of a boogeyman when it comes to caps, supers, Titans. I think when you guys feel Titans, most people think, okay, there's a play right here, right? Is that all? Are those all the Titans? Maybe in it is preformed. Maybe they
yeah.
already admitted some stuff, but GOTG went for so
Well,
credit
they
to
definitely
GOTG
they did
in that
know
case.
about you not preforming and moving stuff because of yeah, they knew. We knew they knew. But yeah, like I don't regret you not being there because yeah, they might if you'd like sneakily moved into position or something, we
They
might have
see
done.
one Titan and then get scared. Then I mean,
Yeah.
one
But
Titan.
even then, like if
It's
you
usually
had done that and we'd like dunked them, it wouldn't be the same, right? Just not the same
that's
intensity.
true.
Like it was more about the getting the adrenaline pumping, which doesn't really happen in the game that much these days.
That is true.
Like you were just saying that you didn't realize how much. Like now you realize how good of the fight F7C was, and that was a good fight because of how intense it was, and that doesn't happen these
Yeah,
days
I mean,
because people don't risk stuff in the.
that's the thing, right? So F7C, for those who are not aware, we how long ago is that? 2 or 3 years ago, actually, by now.
Yeah, long
But
time.
so we were fighting. Who were we fighting? Was it Tri, Horde, NC?
Horde, the
So
Horde Darkness.
so basically, the
Yeah,
situation is there's an R64. Back then, it was a tower, and that thing was revved and came out. And was it friendly or hostile at this point? I don't even remember. But
it was
so it was
hostile.
yeah, it was a fight over an R64. and we knew NC was coming, and the only reason why we engaged, we were already outnumbered without NC being there, or like almost outnumbered. With NC we were heavily outnumbered actually. And the only reason why we took that fight right there was to make NC bridge and travel and then blue ball them. Right? So that was the play first. That was the approach at first. That if we can't fight this, tough shit. Let NC just travel for nothing and make him regret being bad phoned all the time for all these big timers, right? Which is a common thing. It's a shitty move. Like on that move alone, like I'm not proud of that or anything, but then the fight developed and it looked winnable, and then suddenly we're outnumbered, but it looked winnable, so we stayed in the fight even though NC arrived with the subcap fleet. And then we had this stuff lined up with like multiple bosons to like erase a dread bomb quickly, so we fielded some caps. Yeah, the blunderbuss, right? Yeah, so we fielded some caps, baited out a dread bomb basically, and then we tried to hit the thing properly, which was, kind of effective. Wasn't as effective as we all were hoping for, because I think the dread bomb was just big enough, so the bumping was so big that we couldn't hit a clean run. But I think it was like 50, 60 dreads, and I think 30 of them got bosoned right away. So it was like, I don't know, 20, 30 left, and we could clean those up. But
we had a lot of dreads.
Yeah, but then the Titans that we jumped in, we had to free them, and 3 out of 4 got out, but the 4th one didn't, and it was Honey Monster, who's in chat actually. That's Dark Trans Titan. And yeah, and they were just able to hold him, just barely. He almost got out. And then the entire Supercap fleet from NC, and I'm not sure if PI was in that.
And that traveled from Tribute as well. Like they took a good while to get there. It's because they were in heavy attack.
Exactly, that's tie-dye. That's the tie-dye problem for you. If you get stuck in tie-dye and tackle in a Titan, you're dead, right?
I think we killed, I think it was 120 interdictors in that fight.
Funny enough, it was still, ISK-wise, it was still 50-50 kinda, right? It wasn't lopsided at all, even though we lost the Titan.
Because, yeah, it's back then, like, what happened was Pandemic Horde was like in a Scorpion fleet first, and they like reshipped multiple times into different fleets. But the first fleet they had was a Scorpion fleet, and it got absolutely bombed off, but out of sight. And then Darkness was just feeding Tengus, if you remember. And then they dread bombed and re-escalated, and they Horde also had a carrot fleet just doing nothing. It was very, yeah.
Darkness and GG, they were on the NC side too. Yeah, it was a good fight. It was a really good fight, and it's also a perfect segue to the last sub question here. Is there anything you really regret from your EVE career? And that's like those 2 fights. I would argue there's no regrets there. But is there maybe one fight or a fuck up where you say, "Ah, oh, that still haunts me"?
There's been a fair few fuck ups from like me. I've whelped a super fleet because I just kind of wanted to believe it was okay and kind of just got pushed into dropping supers by people just wanting to, and I just didn't use my head enough.
That happened to me too.
Subcap, yeah, I've whelped subcap fleets. There are regrets there, but like it's more you learn from them, and like the more you whelp, the more comfortable you get with doing stuff. And if you whelp and then you learn and you don't do the same thing again, and you progress, so you get better and better at stuff, and you learn what you're doing, not like you just keep whelping the same thing, then it's not really a regret. My actual regret comes from when I started the game. I started because of a friend who introduced me to it, and then I realized, like now I think about it, how bad he was, and like how he was teaching me all the wrong things because he really didn't know what he was doing. And it did take me a good while to get into the game, and that was like 2011ish. And if I had actually like gone into the game properly then and really enjoyed the game back then, when there was like loads of fights happening all the time and stuff, I think I would have enjoyed it more.
So you feel like you missed out on a lot of shit because it took you too long to, find out what actually is fun in the game?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, my only regret, to be honest, I think would only be that Super and Titan massacre. Like, so I wiped a couple, like Affection Super, Brisk's Titan, a couple other Titan. Like, I don't know. I was like, I think 500 something bill. I wiped that stupidly. And yeah, because I mean, I got mad in the fight. Someone else was. That was actually not my fleet in the first place. And then I had to take over. and the subcap fleet was decimated. And I got angry a little bit, and not angry at anyone, but angry at the situation. And yeah, made the call to just drop everything to erase that shit. And then they dread bombed, and we had low numbers of faxes, so they killed a couple dudes before we could erase the dread bomb, and it was expensive. But I have to say, right after that, I felt almost inspired to make it up to the guys, and that's where we started hunting with Stukas a lot. And there was a couple paydays, like 100 bill here, 100 bill there. There was like a couple times in a row that we really brought some ISK home and stuff. So at the end of the month, FC wise, I was ISK positive, and I was pretty proud of that one. So I think we made up
That's
for
how
that.
it goes, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I lost my supers and titans to E, right? So I really wanted to kill the titans, but unfortunately, it was you who ended up killing their titans when you baited them in Syndicate. But like,
It wasn't Syndicate, it was Cloudring, I believe. Yeah.
soldering, yeah, sorry. But then, like, yeah, the other thing was that EE and SC had more supers and titans than us, so I really had to build up our super and titan numbers, and we did end up being one of the most concentrated titan alliances in the game at our peak. So yeah, we did do that. So yeah, it's kind of just like analyzing what you want to do and like getting the best out of it for your guys.
Yep. Alright, I think that should answer those questions fairly well. So next on the list would be all that Vegas stuff. I'm not sure. Did you follow all the streams of Evo?
I've been really busy with university work, but
Uh,
I've like heard the snippets of what's been discussed, so I do know the vague understanding and stuff of like the interceptors and like the Triglavian.
yeah. So
If there's that,
Crackit. Oh, sorry.
I keep going.
So Crackit was nice enough to give me a list. I'm not sure if it's complete, but I would say we just go through the list. Some of these points will probably be like a simple yup, good, or yeah, simple, not good. But I mean, there might be some good stuff that we could talk about here. And really, pretty much on top of the list is the 25 ship limit for bushes. So you have never run any bush comps, I believe, and I don't think you have ever been like a massive fan of them. So what's your take on that nerf? Before I go on a rant here, I probably have to stop myself here, but
Well,
yeah.
you have to understand that we don't run the bush comps because we kind of like to fight head on, and it's more because we feel like we don't want to do this gay skirting around stuff. We do that with nightmares to an extent, but not just fully. And I actually did do bush stuff in like a smaller gang, but that'd be more like triple MJDing onto someone, nothing like you do. It'd more be like snatch fleet. But the way I looked at it was Stuka fleets really aren't hard to counter. We've had to deal with Stuka fleets in the past ourselves. We like have dealt with it while we're in capitals against you. Even you are in a small Stuka fleet, but still, like they're really easy to counter with subcaps if you know what you're doing and you kind of put thought into it. And the fact that they had nerfed it purely because of that, purely because the people who are basically just crabs complained, just to make the game safer, which kind of seems to be the main theme these days. It's just making the game safer and safer. It's a bit sad because honestly, it was annoying, but it wasn't fully like not counterable, and it only existed purely because of the fact that the capital umbrella had become so strong because of CCP doing stupid things to capitals and completely unbalancing the game in a subcap to capital thing. Like I was talking to you earlier before the show about how we were in like 40, 50 carriers and Goons had two subcap fleets and there was like 450 people on grid and subs. And we completely held the grid and won, and you were in a Stuka fleet as well during that time just because of the fact that capital anti-subcap weapons are so overpowered, and they have nerfed, or they are going to nerf them, and they nerfed horse before, but those nerfs aren't enough. Like for example, they nerfed like in a weird way. So horse they nerfed by 50% damage, but the damage was a lot. But the main issue on horse was the tracking. Like the tracking on it is still pretty insane. When they first came out, I remember I signed a friend's Titan onto an Astra house, and the Orthrus swapped in at 100 kilometers, and he had full transversal, and he was going 4 kilometers a second, and the Titan two shot him.
Yeah. I agree. I agree 100%. The damage itself is not the big issue. I mean, if the damage was like 10%, obviously, go ahead and check me. But uh, they're never gonna nerf it to a degree where it makes such a difference. It's the application, and the same goes for supers, obviously. Right? Um, yeah. Should I go into a rant now?
You should, because
Uh,
it's
so, I mean, like you
okay.
said, subcap doctrines, if flown correctly, they can counter Stukas, for example, easily. Like, I think I've lost one fight with a couple Munins against Stuka fleets, but it was two Stuka fleets of over 200 people, and I had like 50 Munins. Alright, so am I supposed to win that fight? Probably not. And because I lost the fight, in that case, calling something OP would be crazy. But at the same time, also, I fought two Stuka fleets before with like 70 Munins, and one even outnumbered 2-1 or 3-1. And it just shows that if you know the weakness of a Stuka fleet, then you can counter it. And I think the problem here is it took us years, literally years. Like command destroyers weren't introduced yesterday, and everyone was like, "Holy shit, everyone's flying Stukas." It took us years to figure out what's the most effective way to use them, and then we used them extensively. Obviously, we're very, very much known for that. And a lot of people never saw any Stuka fleets. And if you don't know, if you have no idea, and you warp into bubbles, you warp into one group on grid and you feel all safe and you're just chilling, or you're in a Munin fleet, you anchor up with prop mod on, and you just hope for the best basically. Like, oh, we're in a Munin fleet, that's what we always do, it always worked. That's not the right approach against the Stuka fleet. So if you do that, you get punished. And I think the problem for people is that if you get punished, then it's going to be a real punishment. So you're going to lose like an entire Munin fleet. We've done that like several times. I've also at the beginning whelped a shit ton of Stuka fleets against Munins, and people got mad at me for doing so because they say like, "Oh, it's so dumb to engage Munins." That's probably the same people complaining that it's OP now. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of FCs in the game that learned the lesson and they adjusted, and it's very hard to engage them with subcaps. So basically, the meta took a long
Hello?
time to develop. Oh, sorry. Did I? Yeah, I think my
Yeah,
push to talk stops working after if I go on a rant for too long.
you cut off after and.
Uh, I'm not sure what and that was, but so basically what I'm saying is the meta took a long time to develop two Stukas, and maybe Ravens to a degree, which I still don't agree with that. Ravens are even an issue. Um, and then I think you could see that Stukas, that the meta was also developing away from Stukas already, because FCs
You cut
all
out
over the
again,
game.
Pan.
The FCs all over the game started to adjust and learn the tricks and stuff like this. I think when I'm cutting out, I'm only cutting out on Discord. Hopefully someone on stream let me know if I'm cutting out on stream too. So if you give a doctrine like Stugas like years to develop, then you should also give it a little bit of time to develop away from it again, right? The meta. And I think they have been so patient, overly patient in the past, be it Macarius, be it T3Cs, be it Ishtars, be it like whatever's OP, capitals. It's like endless patience, what CCP said. But now Stukas, they've been an issue for a short time, and maybe we overdid it, maybe we did too many fleets, I don't know. And now they're suddenly nerfing it. It's just it's not it doesn't make any sense to me. I think they went too quick about it. I think they also did it like, if you agree with them saying, oh yeah, we need to nerf this, I think also they did it the wrong way, because the command destroyer 25 ship limit, I think it's going to be 8 in lowsec, for example. Have a command destroyer warp into your like blob, and just boosh, and you will always get 25. 25 is a very engageable
Yeah,
number, and it can
it
be,
takes that counter. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
it can
it
be
was a
critical.
counter.
I'm gonna say that right now. It's gonna be super AIDS for a lot of people thinking, oh, it's gonna be great, and like fuck Bushas. You're gonna have a bad time, a real bad time. Busha warps in, ECM burst, MGD boom. 25 of your dudes are gone, right?
People forget that one of the first things Pando invented with
Snatch.
bushes was the spearfish, yeah. And that's get even
Yeah.
stronger now.
So there's actually a long forum post on all forums about Snatch, and the number one issue it talks about is how do we split hostile fleets up. There's like several approaches that I wrote down that you can do. One of them is, for example, you warp in, you have enough scrams, you keep MJDing and you scram enough dudes off till it's engageable, or you try to, MGD only a couple in the first place. Like there's a couple things you can do. And a few of these tricks we actually still use in Stuka fleets today, but that problem, it's not going to be a big problem anymore. If you only catch 25, you just have to split the jumping from the main fleet. And yeah, it's going to be way easier then.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, and it's also going to be way more headache for any bigger fleets, especially in lowsec. You can't avoid it in lowsec. Like if you have a bigger fleet, you can't really avoid it. I mean, there's counters to it too, which
Scram chaining is what you're gonna have to do, basically.
No, I don't think. I think scram chaining has always been the worst counter to everything because it's not reliable. ECM burst, and then what? 10% are jumped and get jumped anyway. But like smart bombs always work, right? If you're all balled up, the Busha have to get within 6 km, so you can't smart bomb them. So there's a counter right there. There's a couple things you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of things you could do in Stuka. Like XIX was running it where like this is like a couple of weeks, well, a month ago. No, a few weeks ago. We were on like we were fighting on a Fortizar, and it was like an armor timer. And we were in nightmares, and XIX brought like a 130 man Stuka fleet or something to attack us. And why Kendall was also there, and he had like a 40-50 man Moonin fleet. So I kind of just made him anchor on our fleet. And then this was kind of like a plan made up from my own fleet members because I didn't think of this. Like I think it was like Snorbin and a couple of others. Like we knew they were going to try and MJD directly into us, and they wanted to try and bomb us, obviously. So what we did was, as soon as they MJD'd, we switched anchor into us. We switched anchor, moved into them, so they couldn't bomb us. We went into their fleet, and then Kendar killed all their Maguses, and we just completely, absolutely obliterated their fleet. There was so many easy ways to counter Stukas if you get them in an engageable way. And if there's so many Stukas on grid, then you can't counter them anyways. Then that's like it's nothing to do with the doctrine. It's to do with the fact that there's too many people, as you said. Like people don't really think anymore. They just want to have their little crab safety sphere. And that's a big issue with the game because capitals are so overpowered and subcaps can't really do much that like and everyone has titans and stuff that you can't really have fights anymore because A, there's no content um, creators as such in terms of structures that will people actually give a shit about. And the main things people care about is defending their rorquals and their crabs, and they're just so easy to defend. So like actually having a good fight these days is very hard.
I agree. I mean, counters to Stukas, maybe it's too early to give them all away, but there's a good few. Like, I can tell you right now, any subcap doctrine or any nowadays popular subcap doctrine will always have the upper hand against Stukas. Always. So how come that anyone can make the argument that Stukas are OP? So it's like very hard for me to see. So
it's like Blackout though. Like Blackout was actually quite fun, honestly. Like it made the game interesting because people kind of had to actually play the game in a bit more in a bit more of a dangerous way again, and like I enjoyed it. But then people like crabs like really and like all these other people started massively crying. Goons, the core crabbing alliances like Test and Goons and Horde and stuff started massively crying because they were just losing people. And that's also what the game is about, right? You lose people because there's danger in the game,
so
and the more danger you take out,
yeah, I would even argue they lost people, yes, but also the guys that weren't in a block at that point, they were all pushed into the block. Because the only real safety was inside a, a big block. So while I'm focused on hunting and all that stuff, I don't care bear at all. My corp doesn't care bear. Obviously my alliance does, or the guys on my alliance. But so I would be super interested in nullsec complete blackout. At the same time, I saw what happened. Right? There was no targets anywhere else than the umbrellas. So I don't think that was healthy. And I also was asking not to get it reverted to what it was, but to, take this experiment. That's what they call it, and then make something out of it. And that's still my hope that they're gonna at least say, they haven't even said that they look into getting a middle ground going. Because I think a local delay of just 30 seconds, maybe a minute, that would just be perfect for both sides, right? Hunter and for crabs. You have enough safety so you don't have to fear for your life 24/7. Because, usually you know how it works. You're probably the perfect guy to ask. But usually if you hunt big targets, you have eyes on it for a long time. If you have, and that's the strong part about Blackout is, you can be right next to him for hours and he's never gonna know. So you have all the time in the world to prep your fleet, to get everything moving, mid the dreads, whatever you need, and find the wormhole and all that stuff. If there's only a delay of like a minute, let's say, or like 30 seconds, that is still gonna be super hard. But someone traveling through systems and all that stuff, that's a different story. Or logging in, and then you have 30 seconds to catch it and make it happen. That's a skill move then, right? It's not like you don't get those targets for free, but you have a chance. And I think that's very important.
Honestly, I think it's very like just. I look at it like this: like we always knew that the servers were always going to get like Serenity. Like there would be massive blue donuts, which there are. Like all the core entities, Horde, Goons, Test have this big agreement based off one thing, and like it's very neutrally. And like we all knew that it was going to get to the Serenity level, and that diplomacy would stop the bigger fights happening, the bigger wars happening over like certain things. But like the smaller fights that happen over other things, and like catching crabs and stuff could have still netted good fights. But I feel like the core issues that CCP doesn't address anymore, and like they basically have like this pattern of just, instead of rebalancing stuff, they'll just add more and more gimmicky stuff like Triglavian stuff and all this, like they'll add blackout and things like that rather than rebalancing core gameplay issues such as capital anti-capital weapons being overpowered, and like um not rebalancing subcaps anymore. Like Moonins have been out for so long now, and people just fly Moonins because they're so fucking fast, and like their rate of fire is so strong as well. They're really overpowered, and CCP hasn't nerfed them in any way, and the meta just becomes really stagnant and boring. Like, and it also encourages like the running away meta. Like the core gameplay balances that need to be made to the game are plentiful, and like if they don't address those, then it's not going to fix the game in any way anyways, honestly. Like if you could just keep adding things to a pile of shit, it's still a pile of shit.
Yeah, and so the Munin thing also. So the Munin got changed, and it was very quickly that everyone picked up Munins. How long did it take? Maybe 2 months for everyone to adjust, and everyone realized, yeah, actually Munins are the shit now. And then everyone in the game is flying Munins. So if that's not obvious that you went too far with a buff, then like I don't know what it is, right? It's like it didn't take us years to find out. Oh, Munins are actually quite good. And I think a Munin nerf itself is not going to be enough either. If you nerf the Munins, it's going to be all Eagles. I'm telling you right now, it's
Yeah,
very similar.
that's what I was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what
So
I mean. There needs to be a rebalance again of like they were doing ship tier aside, which was okay, but like certain classes need to be better than other classes and stuff like that of ships, and like everything needs to have its own advantage and disadvantage. And like I've always been a core thinker in that you shouldn't be able to like use capitals without subcapitals, if that makes sense. You shouldn't just be able to jump in like 30 titans and just completely thwack like a 200 man
yeah, and
fleet.
Like, yeah, it's, I think every single FC I've talked to, like, till now, we are all agreeing that a capital should not be the answer to everything. And it's just too easy. Sign up, and even after the sign up changes, I think a lot of FCs were a little bit worried. I know Shines was a little bit worried that his playstyle would be, changed in a way that he doesn't like. But even he agrees now that sign up changes didn't change much in that regard. You open the sign and you've got an answer for every doctrine in the game that was ever there. It's just you can tackle, you can web, you can newt. You can web, tackle, newt AoE style. You can fucking deal damage AoE style. You can do everything. You can portal hostile subs away. That's another funny thing, which, like, I don't see that often, but it's just, it's just too all around that it can just do everything, and it shouldn't have the tackle role at the very least. So if you engage the block, you can get away, unless they bring a subcap fleet of their own. So bam, you've got to fight then. And I think every FC in the game nowadays agrees with that. I've not found any that doesn't. If you're FC and you're in the chat right now, send me a message. Give me some arguments there. I'm happy to have a discussion about it, but I don't even see how that is even, like, who came up with that? That's my question. Like, who thought that's a great idea when they first?
Isn't it fuzzy?
No, I can tell you who thought it was a great idea. Capital Pilots thought it's a great idea. Right? The guys in the Capital Focus Group thought it's a great idea.
Oh, great.
A complete failure, that Capital Focus Group. But I mean, and it's not even, we're FCs, we fail all the time. No big deal. If you fuck it up, go ahead and fix it afterwards, though. Don't just let us sit here for years, literally years, and struggle doing your job, entertaining people. And that's how I see it. Right? We're trying to bring content to the guys, but they're making it harder and harder for us to do. And at some point, and that's what you see at the moment, I believe, that's probably part of the reason why you guys decide to, I would say, tone it down a bit. Like, at some point, it's not worth the time and effort for what you get out of it. And then people quit. People stop doing stuff. And they're waiting for better weather. And that weather might not ever come. So we're losing people to that kind of stuff. And, I mean, the capital stuff is just one, but I think that's the biggest one, together with Citadels. Right.
And the fact that CCP no longer really addresses rebalances and stuff like that means that, just like me and Tao, like, we have more real life commitments, but like, when you actually do a fleet of a certain scale, and just in general these days, because these structures are just so much time, it takes a lot of time out of your day, and like FCing wise, it's even more prep and stuff, and like, you kind of have to think about whether it's worth your time or not. And being an FC normally means you have to have a lot of free time anyways, but like, it's how you want to spend that time. And if you don't have that time to spend on the game and you don't think it's worth it, then you're like less likely to FC. And the less FCs you have in the game, the less content creation there is, and all these issues. Like, I was speaking to Vince about, like, him still playing the game, and he basically just said like NC's on there, live sport, which is actually kind of sad, because if you start losing all the bigger entities, and they can't, and you just are left with the massive entities, like, I mean, the mid-scale entities. And he's not really a mid-scale entity, but like, it was not horde level or goon level, I guess, let's put it like that. But once you start losing all of those, like, big and small, and whatever, yeah. Once you start losing those, it basically will just become test, horde, and goons on the map, which is just going to be absolutely fucking horrible. So, which actually might be good, because there'll be like more smaller scale fights, but then I think that's going to kind of drive as well as time goes on, just because people are going to be more like, the game is, it's like a safety net, and the safety net's getting bigger and bigger, and that means PvP is shrinking, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I would actually, I mean, I totally agree with what you said. Besides, there's going to be more small scale stuff going on. I don't think so. because that's where the Citadel stuff is in the way, I believe. Like, you can't just, a smaller group, they can't just hit stuff and then have day-to-day, maybe weekly kind of, approaches to the game. It's all about the long-term gain, and that's the struggle that smaller groups have. So I don't think small groups are in a good place, and I think that's actually a fact that now only caught up to bigger groups, or is catching up to bigger groups. All these mid-scale, small-scale groups, they're struggling hard too, and so you're missing those as your content too. Sorry.
It's actually really sad as well because like big scale groups can't really be bothered to make content, or they're not allowed to because they're just glued to each other because they're all following the Vili way, which is just diplomacy, as I like to call it. But like,
The
you
Vili way.
like we were, yeah, we were doing stuff in tribute, and like it would just be us and like some random shitters. And then like Horde would get word of that timer, and then there'd be like 400 people on the way from Horde and PL for like a 50-man fleet of like Astartes. And I was like, wow, why? Like they just don't have anything to do, so they just come and blob and like suffocate all the smaller content, which is what's gonna happen. So like if all these smaller groups exist and then there's just really large groups, for example, let's say in lowsec, it's pretty open now, you're going to have like 500 people coming out of a wormhole just to try and blob you on the timer just because they have nothing better to do. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I'm just reading that one comment. Like, I'm not going to be able to read much in Fleet because I want to obviously talk too high. But I'm seeing when Init blocked my Fleet and Syndicate. Yes, like, obviously all bigger groups do that. Snuff does that. They're hitting smaller groups. That's, that's life. But bigger groups are forced to look at any kind of content they can get because it's so dry at the moment. Right? So, for example, when Try and Trigger started fighting a little bit in Tribute, we were very aware of the whole thing, and we were, I could have formed a couple fleets and gone there, but we didn't because Kenda, he's one of those rare cases. Kenda actually said like, nah, stay out of it for now. I don't want to start the whole bad phone game, and I'm completely like, I respect that decision. We were ready to go if like NC showed, which they did. But he still said like, no, stay out of it. And but that all becomes a gentleman's agreement to some point. And if that's the basis of the game, just people shooting each other because they agree to it, it loses so much depth. You know what I mean? It's like there's so much getting lost, and it's not like there's no grudge fights anymore. There's no grudges in the game. We've heard that before. I mean, there's a couple. We don't like NC. We want NC to be around though. That's for sure.
And she's kind of dead right now, so I don't think they're
I
going
mean,
to
they're
become.
fighting GOTG a little bit.
Yeah, but
Also.
their numbers are absolutely shit, and they're getting dumpstered by GOTG, which should not happen. GOTG is like they're like okay, they're not very good, let's say, and they are improving, but like they're not hard. Like the old caliber of NCFC, such as like Ajax, which is an older FC than you, for example, that should be able to easily deal with that, and they're not. Like their numbers are they're merging with Horde a lot.
Yeah, I mean, because we like obviously have a long history with Pan Fam in general, we showed up to that fight a couple times, obviously, right? And yeah, they're struggling, but hey, all right, let's. I'm always trying to keep it non-political, but politics are such a big part of the game that you really can't avoid it when you FC, and you know.
It's actually very sad as well. You said talking about like grudges and stuff. We try very hard, and we were quite famous for being very hated in the game. But we tried really hard to get like people riled up because you get people riled up, they come to like try and fight you, they come try and dumpster you, and like I almost made Billy Cratton stream, for example. He still didn't do shit, right? Like people don't do anything anymore. Just kind of take it. And they just are like, oh,
All right.
which is what big.
How did we even get here from Bush things? But hey. So they also introduced or they also announced the boson application change and the Dromi web strength nerf. But so let me comment on that right away. It's great that the boson gets touched because it was like a tool for one guy to wipe out an entire subfleet. Who who thought that's a great idea? No idea. And then this Dromi web strength nerf. It's almost like they want to say, okay, here, take this. It doesn't have any impact, but you kinda asked for this, so shut up and leave. That's what it feels like to me. Everyone is agreeing you shouldn't be able to tackle with the supers and titans that easily. I would argue you shouldn't be able to tackle at all. And then they give us that little bit of a nerf on the web power.
I never understood why they even bothered doing this because, correct me if I'm wrong, but the old supers and the old titans, well, more fighters, the old fighters and the old anti-capital weapons, if you web down and target painted a ship enough, they'd apply and they'd apply a lot of damage because that's the same as the old dread guns, right? If you like, I mean, this is more battleships and battle cruisers and stuff, less so T3 cruisers, but like, I mean, actually, you could do it to them as well if they're properly webbed and TP'd down. They'd still apply a lot of damage, and that meant that you had to have subcaps on grid really to kind of tackle the stuff down, right? I don't understand why we even have anti-capital weapons on capitals. It just makes no sense.
Anti-subcapital weapons, you mean?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. So they're always trying to, they always try to make it two different classes of ships, but then one class dominates the other class completely in every way, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah, I mean, a couple of Care Bears and like Titan owners and stuff will probably say, but hey, like I invested so and so much time and effort into getting my Titan, I should totally be OP. It's just the dumbest argument I've ever heard. And
They
it's
should buff
just
the local Doomsday like it was before.
they
And then
could do
they'll
that,
still
yeah. Targeted Doomsday, yeah. Why not?
And then it would still be overpowered, and you just get rid of whores, and you're back to the old guns, and it's fine. Like, people can find subcaps again. You actually have to form subcap fleets and have subcap fights to defend. You know, people can make plays again, which are very important in having variety in the game instead of a linear escalation bar.
Oh man, Ari just said something. When Ari says something, I better listen. But she says, I hope they don't give a Horgun to the Trick Dread. Oh no! That's probably gonna be the Horgun Dread. I mean, not really, because it's probably gonna be
Do we
spool
know
up
a price
damage.
estimate of this trade?
Yeah,
Is
it's gonna be wormhole priced. High wormhole priced.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
Yeah. We're not gonna see it in nullsec, I think. But in general, like think about it. That thing is gonna check everything. If it's if it's just a scaled up Triglavian gun, I mean, it should be tracking everything. Even compared to like normal Horgun, it's just gonna murder zone everything. But then again, it's spool up, so maybe it starts with 0 damage as spool up. You know.
Did you
Probably,
hear
right?
what Jay wrote about? Well, did you read what Jay wrote about
No.
bounty entropic sinks like being?
What did you say?
Entropic sinks were apparently bugged on Triglavian ships, so they're going to do even more damage now after the patch.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean they were bugged?
Read what he said in TRC. Apparently, this is said at Vegas. Because when they were testing the Dread, they said that when they had the entropic sinks on, it was doing less damage out of siege than it. No, less damage in siege with entropic sinks than it was doing out of siege.
Well, I'd like to be surprised, but I'm not really, right?
Triglavian ships are fun, but like, I'd rather they'd like fix the core game issues and like basically owned up to the fact that they made mistakes, because that's the big thing about CCP. If they do something and it doesn't work out and it's really shit, they won't like admit they made a mistake. They'll make like a small change and then just keep it as it is and just sweep it under the rug. And they've just done that more and more. So now you have like so much dirt under the rug that you're fucking teetering on a mountain.
Well, they admitted a couple smaller things before that they fucked up here, fucked up there. I mean, one thing I know is when they banned us that they completely fucked up, which is still a mystery, but how that could even happen. But yeah, they owned up to that one to a degree, which is fine.
The big things
I'm not
there.
mad about it anymore. I was more sadness than anything anyway, but I think they yeah, they only did like little things that they admitted to, have made mistakes in the past and then actually owned up to it. I mean, it's not. I mean,
They're big things.
it's not like we are unforgiving. You know what I mean? If they fuck up something and then like a month later saying, guys, I think we got this wrong. Let's get it right this time. There we go. Nobody would complain about that.
Yeah, nobody would. You're
But
always
they do
gonna
it
have
after
things.
years. That's the problem. Like 2 years later, they're like, maybe it wasn't the best. Guys, we've been playing for 2 years with
This
this
is what.
shit. Like, and you didn't listen at all? Like, come on.
Yeah,
This can't be
well,
serious.
this is the thing that when I was on the Meta show when Jay was drunk and he's being, pretty brutally honest about it. Like he basically just said they don't play their own game, which is absolutely true. If they played their game in like the way that they intended to play in like different groups, they would realize how stupid the game is, but they don't. And you can tell that from the way they fit their ships when they do roams and stuff. They fly the absolute worst fits ever, and they don't know how to play their own game. They don't interact with their own game, which is the stupidest thing ever.
You know what? Wait a second. But you can't blame him for that. You know what I mean? The game is
Yeah, I know.
in the best state, so I can't even blame him for not playing their own game. But I can. I mean, I can. I was obviously. I'm kidding. Uh, Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. If you want to keep going.
Nah, I just wanted to say that basically. Like you can't fix something if you don't know what's broken. Like thing is, you can't really listen to the players anymore because, for example, Reddit, for example, is just absolutely fucking horrific right now. It's just absolutely retarded. Like half the stuff that's said about it is retarded. And then like people will always be on both sides. Like you'll have the crabs that'll be like the vocal majority these days, and they'll just complain about everything that gets rid of their safety net. And then you'll have the PvPers that will complain about other stuff. And like you'll never make everyone happy, and they need to make decisions that will basically be good for the game in the long term that they know will be good for the game, and the only way they're going to do that is by playing the game.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if I talked about it before here. And how do I start this? So I want to tell this story. So we got banned. They apologized to us, which is, if you fuck up and you fix it and you apologize, I'm not gonna hate on you for anything, right? So we basically forgave them for it. It's fine, forget. But so in one of those meetings or in one of those conversations, I actually offered to CCP to take one of their guys, I don't want to name a name, who was clearly not experienced in EVE, doesn't have any EVE experience, to take one of them on and up and go from A to Z, right? So I'm explaining everything about an op. Like, because even if I stream it now, like the Archduke Fleet and stuff, people don't see what's going on really. You have to map these wormholes. You have to know where to go. You have to, there's a lot of experience that goes into this, and a couple of dudes helping you out with all kinds of stuff. You need to get tackled. You need to there's a lot of things that go into this that they'll never see. And then I would have loved to explain to them the problems behind finding content, because that's basically my job, right? Finding content for my guys. That's what I'm doing all day. Like everything I think about in EVE, it's all towards that. Like, how can I make sure my guys get like the best content? And I would have loved to explain a couple like these struggles to them. But then they have this weird policy in place saying like, no, if we join anyone's op, or like if we are involved in some degree, like it has to be open to everyone in EVE and all that stuff. I'm cutting out on Discord again, I'm sorry. So I'm just talking about so they have this weird policy going on. That if you are if a dev would join your fleet, this fleet needs to be open to all of Eve, which obviously doesn't always work for fleets. So there was this policy in the way. I think they're changing it to some degree, and I know Rise, even though he fucked up that presentation thing, like there's a couple things that I just don't understand. I think still he's probably still my hope for the game, to be quite honest. Because I think he has the most understanding about what it is, to find
Didn't
content and
Rise get
stuff.
fired or something?
What?
Wait, he was a community. Wasn't Rise a community person, like the AT person? Who is the AT?
I have no idea. I was never involved in the AT.
I can't remember who still works at CTV anymore.
Well, I don't
That was
know.
another thing as well. Them getting rid of the AT. That was
Falcon? No,
a
Falcon didn't
recent.
get fired.
That was a, yeah, I know. Yeah,
Logi
but
Bro.
the other people. Oh, Logi, right? Okay, yeah, that was a big thing. Like the AT was a big thing, and a lot of people played for the AT. Like I don't understand why they got rid of it as well.
Yeah, and you know what? I think they're gonna struggle to bring it back, even if they wanted to, because the game is moving on and the tools they use for it are probably not up to date. So it probably would be completely community based. And I know for those who know maybe already, was it Extra Squishy, DTM, and a couple others? They tried to pull off a tournament, and CCP offered them a little bit of help. I'm not sure, right? I wasn't involved in that at all, but from what I heard, there wasn't much support coming in the end, right? So they struggled a lot, put a lot of work into this, but it didn't really kick off the way they wanted, which was sad, but it is what it is. But yeah, they tried to fill that gap to a degree, which was great that they gave it a shot. But I don't think the AT is going to be seeing a comeback anytime soon, sadly.
It's actually quite sad. Like even before we disbanded, we bled so many members just because of people losing faith in the game and CCP. And a lot of alliances had experienced that because of blackout and them just changing their mind over and over again about stuff like that. Like
Well,
a lot of our
so
guys obviously like blackout and just different things people quit because of blackout and all these different things.
I
Like they
mean,
need to be
sorry.
good.
So the blackout thing, it was always meant to be temporary, right? I mean, they didn't go back on it necessarily. The only problem I have with the whole thing is they say it's an experiment, but you don't do an experiment for no reason, right? They damaged the game with it because it was temporary. I would rather have complete blackout still than the full local again. I think we got the worst out of both worlds. So basically, they kicked out a lot of crabs with the blackout thing, and then going back kicks out a lot of PvP guys. So you're losing people on both sides with that move. If they would just say, "Hey, so we got the data," like, and now we're finding them, it would be a different story. Even if they would just say we're working on it, it would be something. And they are actually going on in Vegas. There's a lot of points here that they're just saying, "Oh yeah, we're thinking about this, we're thinking about that." They didn't say they're thinking about a local middle ground, which is super disappointing. Even though I feel like a lot of these things that they mentioned there are just things to, give us something, fill the gap a little bit, which is okay, right? That you're thinking about it and you tell us. I'm not complaining about you telling us, but local wasn't part of it. You made that experiment, and all you say is we learned a lot, but you're not thinking about implementing actually, a middle ground solution there. Biggest disappointment. And people probably say like, oh yeah, the bushing nerf would be probably my biggest disappointment. I think that's rank 2. I don't need bushing. We'll make something happen. But
it's funny that people think like I'll laugh at you the most for the boosting nerf because people forget that you made all these metas. Like it's not like you're not gonna make it's yeah, I find it funny that people think you're gonna be the one that's hit hardest by it because you're really not.
well, we we were like strong before commanders just went the game, so it's like whatever.
And it's been brought to my attention that I've put a link in your Discord of the thing, and apparently all the support that they've gotten is it's two CCP guys lurking in there, and they've agreed to give 1,000 plex and 4 skins, and there's been like one tweet about it, so it's barely any support.
Yeah, that's disappointing. And you could tell the guys were um, passionate about it, and they were willing to put in work and all that stuff. But if you don't get any support whatsoever, that passion, that I can only imagine how disappointed that must have felt, and was just sad. I've never been a tournament guy, like I've never flown in it or FC'd or anything. I always watched it though, like when there was like big matches going up. Of course I'm watching that, and it was a great community kind of event for people.
Yeah, definitely.
And for the guys that do the small scale, mid scale, that's their time to shine. And it's just so sad that it's gone. Yeah. Oh, what you gonna do? They don't have the dev time apparently. Focusing on new player experience. That's another thing. I could go on a rant about that for hours. Like most people probably know, or not most people know. A few of you guys know that I actually made a suggestion. Not saying they should do exactly that, but the approach to new player experience should be a complete different one. So when they said they're putting in, I think the number that was going around is 80% of dev time. So they said they're putting 80% of their dev time into new player experience stuff. I was hoping that means it's a completely new approach. It's not the old new player experience and a new color and a little bit more shiny here and there's a new button there and it helps like half of a percentage here or something. I thought it's a completely new approach, and that's why they need these 80%. So that's one hope I had for the Vegas stuff, that they announced like, okay, so this is what we have been working on for the new player experience. Now it's going to be this. And the suggestion I made was that you get a little bit of an instance PvP just so new players have an idea what PvP looks like. So what's the fight you should be looking for, and then hook them up together. So there's a social part, because EVE is a social game. It's a social hardcore PvP game, right? And I think you don't have to do it the exact same way I suggested, but there should be a focus on giving them an understanding of what PvP looks like, and then also giving them a natural way of connecting to other people. I'm not saying push them into a newbie corp or whatever people suggested before.
Newbie corps are incredibly toxic, by the way, these days.
Yeah.
Like, Horde is so fucking toxic. Like, it's not a place I'd put.
Yeah, I think we need a new newbie group, but at the same time, the game is not in a state where it's easy to just start a newbie group and do shit with it. You know, I mean, I remember when Horde first came up, and it was like the destination. Not only did everyone go to kill Horde, but like all the guys that would roam there would kill each other too. Right? That completely changed. No, you go there, you're getting dropped by supers and titans. That's not a newbie group. Come on. So to even call them a newbie group at this point, that's completely that's not realistic. And I'm not shitting on Horde. I think they did a great job, and they're like a strong group in the game. I'm just saying that's not a newbie group anymore. But yeah.
Yeah, you can't be a newbie group forever. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, they outgrew their thing. The only group that stayed a newbie group over the years is probably what's it called?
EVE University.
EVE Uni. I think they're struggling at the moment. I'm not sure. There's some leadership issues going on, and I don't even want to comment on that. But they stayed true to, we're doing newbie stuff here. We're not trying to develop any political power or any of that stuff. And I think they did, in that regard, they did a good job. How active they actually are, I'm not sure. But yeah. So what else do we have? Oh, there's actually one good thing from ETH Vegas. That's what I believe at least. And that's the 100% loot drop event. Now I don't agree with it being in high sec too, but I think overall it's going to be a net positive. 100% loot drop, that should, give us some content, some more people in space shooting each other. Or what do you think? It's a bandit
Yeah,
kind of thing.
it's gonna be well, yeah. That's why I said they just keep adding gimmicks, right, instead of addressing the core issues. But like the actual thing I kind of sparked my interest from Vegas was the heavy bomb thing. I just had that being discussed, but like, do you actually know about the heavy bomb? Apparently, it's
Yeah.
like an
Is
anti-capital bomb.
that... I think it's... Is it on my list somewhere here? Yeah, that is on my list too, yeah. That for sure, obviously. I mean, Stukas are, bombers basically. So obviously I'm interested in that. But the problem I see there is there's no date on it. There's no guarantee that they're gonna do it. It was
Yeah,
one of those, oh yeah, we've thought about this before and we're still thinking about it. I don't know. Is it coming? Is it not coming? I would guess if it's coming, it's like at least a year away. So
and if it happens, people are gonna complain massively about that. Can you imagine the crabs crying about that?
I can imagine. Yes, it's gonna be glorious. But yeah, and then the loot drop thing. What do you think? It's just like, is it gonna be like a week long more activity? But that's basically it, right?
It's I really don't know what to say. I think it will be a week-long thing, and that's it. Yeah, I don't think they'll continue the 100% loot drop. They're taking out an ISK sink. Like the ISK faucets are already bigger than the ISK sinks in the game right now because ISK is worth like nothing. And if they just kept that in the game, then there wouldn't be much ISK like leaving the game, if that makes sense, and stuff would just become worthless, which is
Which is what? So you cut out.
bad.
Yeah, I agree. I think long term, that's not gonna. But I think it's a neat experiment or neat little event. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And it was supposed to start today. I actually scrambled my guys to get some wormholes mapped and go on a Stuka hunt. And then while we were halfway done with mapping and all that stuff, someone said like, actually they moved that to tomorrow. So it was a little bit disappointing. But yeah, the event's gonna start tomorrow.
Yeah.
But hey,
What I can recommend, guys, is going down to Goon Swarm space. Shooting up some crabs. They tend to be very blingy. John Hartley's Titan, very expensive.
yeah, everyone go for John Hartley's Titan. And John is a good dude.
Doesn't
He
make
might
his Titan less expensive.
John might be on here at some point too. He's like, I think he's probably the most experienced chemo FC by now. When we first introduced chemos to the game, and he picked it up and ran with it and did chemo fleets all day, every day. Yeah. So next on the list would be combat interceptors, damage buff, and Soul Freak speed nerf, and Jaguar fitting nerf. Yeah, not that impactful, I would say. It's good for the Scepters. There might be some cool shit happening. We'll see. But in general, nothing crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean, the intercept is really the thing that does to deserve the attention right now. Like there's so many more different subs that need more attention, such as fucking hacks being
Yeah,
rebalanced and all these
yeah,
different things. Why interceptors out of everything? Why
yeah. So,
they
yeah, sorry.
just aren't that bad?
Yeah, I think that's the disappointing part about it. It's not that they're doing it or how they're doing it, but that they're doing it instead of other stuff they should be doing. Yeah. I think I don't know. Yeah, it's good to do that, but seriously, we've got other things. I agree. Oh, alright, so, but next on the list, that's a big thing actually, I think. Um, we should talk about citadels in general, I think. But
Oh,
so on, let's go. Did we do that before? We talked about citadels before. I think that might have been one of those times we were like late at night and talking about shit, and then we got stuck
3 hours,
for
yeah.
3 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's start with the thing that's on the list here. So they increased the anchor range of Ansiblex and Tenebrex to 500 km. So for those who are not aware, Ansiblex
But
Tenebrex.
Pando,
Yeah.
the
I'm gonna go
legacy
to the.
one,
Wait a second. What?
the legacy ones stay where they are.
Yeah, I'm I'm gonna go to the big problem with that in a second. So for those who are not aware what an Ansiplex and Tenebrex is, Tenebrex are cyanogemmers, so you can't jump into system, right? And Ansiplexes are jump gates. Jump gates in general already. I could go on a rant about that too. Um, but so they used to be anchorable. What was it? 350 km, 300 km, something like this. So a Keepster, actually closer, 200 or something. 150 and 200, I think it is. So a Keepster has a 490 km lock range. So everything within 490 km would get DD'd. So you die, and if there's 8 of your friends close by, 8 of your friends die. And it's just, you cannot fight within Keepster range. That's basically what it is. So now they're pushing it to 500. So it's obviously it's further than 490. So in theory, you can fight on on a Cyanogemma or the jump gates bridges. In theory, but at the same time, if someone jumps onto the Gemma, he can end up at 490. Let's say I jump in there with my Titan and then I get tackled. I could end up in lock range 2 the Keepster too. So it's just on the edge. And then he can DD me, and the DD jumps on to whatever is 20 km further. So I think the 500, come on, why not push it to 1,000, to be quite honest. But hey. So that's the change they did. I think it's an improvement, but they could have done it a little bit better. That's my take on it. And then, so the big problem with this is all the jump bridges and jammers that are up already are gonna stay where they are. And everyone in big groups, we're not losing jump bridges and Sino jammers all day. Like they never die basically unless
Well,
there's a
yeah, because
big
no one
war.
keeps that. Exactly. You're not
So
gonna lose.
basically what it's doing is all jump bridges and Sino jammers are gonna stay exactly where they are right now. So the change, it's not gonna change anything for big groups because they don't lose those. And those who put up new Cyanogemmers and jump bridges right now, they have to anchor them a little bit further. So that's a massive issue. I don't even know why you would think that's okay. Like there needs to be a timer on it, like saying, okay, you have like a month to replace them, otherwise they're gonna all blow up, or they remove them for you, or something like this. It's not acceptable, to be honest. Unacceptable to me that you just leave him there. That's not no way to go with this, to be honest. And I would guess you probably agree. I don't know. What's your take on it? The same, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like this fixes the change is, good that they've seen that that's a problem, but like you can't just like address the problem for new people because it won't affect anyone. Everyone's deeply rooted in, which is also an issue with citadels, is that the roots are so deep in, nobody wants to move and nobody.
Yeah.
You can't. Everyone's like a weed. You can't dig deep enough to pull them out because it's so much fucking at work. They're like tree trunks.
Yeah, and then also anti-blacks themselves, they have been an issue from the start too. Because if you think about it, so what they back in the day with Seagull around, they always had this vision of player built stargates. And that's those antiplexes. That's what came out of this vision, or whatever it is, this idea. So they brought in these antiplexes and call them playable stargates. So they're designed to be stargates, but only one side can use them. And they're in range to your keepstar. So there's like so many problems with this. If you design them as a normal stargate, then everyone should be able to use them. Or if it's not a normal stargate, then it shouldn't be super safe in your keepstar range in the first place. And there should be a disadvantage to it too. I mean, the old jump bridges, you could camp them, bubble around them, and nobody can jump. You cannot
Yeah.
jump through. But now you can tackle, you can scram, even with a hick, people just jump through. They don't care. I mean, I think a cap, if your capital gets hick pointed, it cannot jump. But that's basically it. So we got the worst out of two worlds. From a content creator's perspective, that's the worst. And yeah, at least they're at 500 km now, so you can try to catch something that doesn't reapproach quick enough or so. But yeah, not easy. And then try bumping something off. 500 km on a keepstar. Try to bump something off the jump bridge. If you bump it too far, it's at 490. Boom, you get DDs. That's what I'm saying. There's not enough room for you to play. It's very risky to do still, especially on keepstar grids.
Yeah, which is where most of them are.
Exactly. That's another thing.
Citadels have killed so many places in the game. They've killed station camping. They've killed like boss fights because of the moons and stuff. It's just I don't actually like Citadels at all. I think Citadels are absolutely horrible just because they're just so boring. You don't get anything out of them apart from in wormhole space. They're actually attacking the region unless you want to take the.
Yeah, I went, I rambled on about Citadels a couple times on FC chats before. Maybe I'm just gonna, comment quickly on it, but I totally agree. Citadels are one of the two main issues, capitals and citadels. And I think one of the main issues also, like, why aren't they limited? Keepstars, for example, didn't they learn that from Titans? They approached the Keepstars like old Titans. Like, oh yeah, there's gonna be only a few of them, And now it's getting more and more and more and more. And it's not easy to remove them. You need capitals and Titans and everything to remove Keepstars from bigger groups. I mean, unless you have a full fleet of Bush Ravens to actually pause the thing, subs have no chance, really. I mean, you need to keep the DPS up for too long. It's just not realistic. I think Citadels are a massive problem for that reason, yeah. And I also suggested a couple changes, but let's see. I'm not gonna go and give the full Citadel talk right now. Not again. But do you have any, like, what if you wanted to change something? What would it, like, if you could have, like, you have the Helmar power, you can just change something right now, what would it be? What do you think?
Change the whole game to a mobile so I can sleep at everyone else is unhappy and have to quit Eve, and Pando, a handsome man, can go outside and find a girlfriend and be happy, have a couple kids, live his life, forget about Eve Online.
That would be a dream. That would be a dream.
But nah, I guess if I could fix one thing, I'd remove tether from a Citadel that's been
From a Citadel that has been revved or is in low power?
yes, just reinforced.
So you think tether itself is a big issue? Or do you think the Citadel defenses are more of a problem?
So basically, I would do it if somebody hits it from shield and it goes into armor. You lose your services. You can't access the stuff in the station, and you can't tether, which means that as soon as you warp on that grid, you have to fight. If you undock something, you're not safe. You can camp that station. People will have to they can't just sit tethered there. They can't just move everything out. There's no safety net there. If you get hit on that fort, people can just camp you in. You can't PDS the bubbles or anything. You got to sit there. You got to.
So I think I disagree with that, to be honest. I think I would have a different approach. So I think the first problem would be if you remove tether in certain circumstances, I think that's a very what do you call it? So it's not obvious if you can tether or not tether and stuff like this. I don't think that's good necessarily. It's like this uncertainty kind of thing.
Why you didn't have that before?
Well, so I mean, you didn't have that before, and
And
I
your
would agree.
station
But not
setup
everyone is gonna have,
turned off.
not everyone is gonna have a Ford in every system and all that stuff. You know, I mean,
What do you
yeah,
mean?
yeah, I
Like,
I agree. I agree. You didn't. You only had stations, and you could only dock in stations, and there was only stations in so many systems.
and you could be station camped, and you kind of had to fight once you undock it, or you just kind of. I mean, I'm not saying you can still dock back up, right? There would not be like, there'd be inval timer. It'd be like the old days where you can't just kind of, because what happens a lot these days is people just sit on tether and just sit there. There shouldn't be a thing where you can just kind of sit there with no like real danger. I mean, you had that with passes, but then you could bubble a pass and then reinforce it, and it'd take five
But
minutes, or you could just bubble a pass and kill the pass and kill the stuff.
but technically, you could also have a disadvantage by undocking. So have it being that's your citadel, you would have the disadvantage of you undock,
Or then
you're
go to then
spread out
undock beforehand.
on the undocks.
Undock beforehand.
Nah, that's easier said than done. So
Well, you just
I think the
the older
tether.
game you're going.
So I don't like tether in general. Don't get me wrong, and I see your point, and I wouldn't complain if that was the case. If they would remove tether if on low power. But I don't think that's the core issue. I think the core issue is, first of all, there's no incentive to really kill citadels because they don't drop anything. There's,
Yeah,
like,
that's a
why
big
would
thing
you
as
do
well.
that? Then the amount of time is like how much work you have to put in to actually kill it, and then you get nothing. And then the citadel defenses are my big issue for daily content. Like that's my number one issue when it comes to citadel, because like small scale, mid scale dudes, they cannot warp to a keepstar, fortizar, whatever, and just poke around on that grid and play and poke your ego. And maybe Big High Wanto doesn't like that. The little blackbird is on the undock right now and showing his middle finger or whatever, and Big High Wanto has to undock and show him who's boss. Maybe it's a trap, maybe it's not, and Big High Wanto just removes everyone. But the point is, there's something happening then, and I think the Citadel defenses being active at all times, I think that's a big issue. They should only be active if the Citadel is getting attacked. Other than that, there shouldn't be. And then this Unsiblex Tenebrex thing
That's
wouldn't
so
even be
easy
an
to.
issue anyway.
That'd be so easy to abuse that panda because then you can
No,
just shoot the citadel
no,
yourself.
well, I'm saying they shouldn't be active when it's getting attacked. That means if it's like missing 10% of its shield, 15% of its shield, and it's in repair mode, then Citadel defense are attacked. So go ahead and hit your own Citadel and keep it paused. The thing is, to hit it, guess what? You have to untether. So I have time to kill you while you do that till you reach 10%. And then you can use your defenses, but you can't use them forever because you can't keep it paused
Yeah,
forever.
citadel weapons
So
are a problem.
it's going to reset.
If a citadel could be incapacitated or like neutered, that would be my favorite thing, to be able to incapacitate or nute citadel. That's what I would pick, like incapacitating or neuting citadels, because then you can incapacitate PDS, which and like bomb launches and stuff, which gives you so much more flexibility of what.
Yeah, I think the bomb launcher, PDS, and the DD, they're just a little bit too strong. I mean, bomb launcher by now you can deal with them, but it's still strong as shit. And the PDS takes out a lot of doctrines to be used, but at least it's too easy to hit the damage cap with just your drones otherwise. Because at the moment, if you do that, the drones get PDS, you have no chance. So you have to put your turrets on it. So, I guess there is a place for PDS, so I'm not going to complain about it too much. But the keeps that DD, what's the point of that hitting subcaps? Can you explain that to me? Who came up with that and thought it's a great idea? We removed the ability of Titan Doomsdays to hit subs, but then the keeps that Doomsday does? I don't know where that came from. So I think, there's a couple things that are just so plain wrong, obviously wrong. And you think, so you would warp onto grid and then you would hit the PDS first, so the PDS is disabled, and then you could do whatever. I would be, happy with that too. Would give it a little bit more like a dynamic kind of
I
thing.
would take out the bomb launcher, I guess, first, because that's the biggest threat to your fleet, and then I would take out the PDS, and that
Would
means that you
you?
can bubble the undock.
But then for the mods, so first of all, I like damage cap in general. I kind of like it because you can.
I don't like it on Astros. It's stupid.
Yeah, I
It's the
think
worst of the Citadel. Like 1.5 hours for something that costs $1 billion isk. Like in this game right
so.
now, no.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I say that, I don't like having 3 times on an Astros. I do like the damage cap though. So when someone is hitting my Citadel, I want to know, do I have actually the time to form and do something about it, or am I going to waste everyone's time and they're just going to head home and say, made you form and we got a reft. Because, I mean, that's what used to be the case but on posses, and you can make the argument it also caused a good amount of fights, that you just jump in 50 dreads and one cycle a posse and then jump them out again. But I think I like I like damage cap in general because you know it's 25 minutes. If they're halfway done, I've got 10 minutes. I have to get it done within 10, you know? And I kind of like that part. But yeah, smaller citadels shouldn't have 3 timers. I mean, we don't need that really. And what we were talking about before? Ah yeah, so what about the citadel mods then? That wouldn't be damage cap though. That would be EHP based, right? Or what do you think?
I would do EHP base. I would do either. I think neuting is quite versatile as well. I'd do either neuting or like literally just have them as all pos mods, right? You
Oh,
incap them, and they actually have to be like, repetitive.
so you want to have certain mods on a citadel to have a capacitor?
Well, I'd have the actual like Citadel either having a capacitor itself, as in it's like an actual ship and such, right? You have a capacitor in the middle of your little icon thingy. When you get neutered, you can't do
You
anything,
do.
and then you kind of have to pick what you use, or you have to fit battery. Yeah,
Citadels do
I know.
have
Yeah,
capacitor.
you do have.
It
Yeah, I
never
know,
runs
but you
out, but
can't.
hey.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Though. Or you have modules that you can incapacitate, and they'll take time to incapacitate, just like the old POS mods did, right? But once you incapacitate them, they can't use it. Like the defenders still have an overall advantage. They still have the tether, and they still had the weapons when they still could use them, just like old bosses. But then, like once those are gone, they're gone, and then you have
So
to repair them.
so what I thought, maybe like if you would introduce like the POS or the Citadel mods being able to get incapped, I would think it would be a great thing if you base that on EHP basically. So you could one cycle a thing, so you have that risky move, to field 50 dreads to incap like the whole thing and then hit it. You could do that, but you don't have to, So you would have both, like you have both good things out of both worlds, citadels and posses back in the day. And yeah, I probably like that. I don't think it's realistic. I don't think CCP would
They
ever do that.
actually no, they actually did talk about this, and they said it was on the cards.
Oh,
This is a couple of years ago, and they did not.
a
So
couple years ago. There's
yeah.
issues with citadels like ever since they introduced them, and I think caps and citadels are the two main issues. And I've been talking about this so much on here, like I simply don't understand why they introduce it. It's so obvious that there's issues with it, and then they don't iterate on it. That's my number one thing. Like it's very clear that there's. I mean, they did iterate to some degree. They did some changes, but it's nowhere near what it should be. I'm not sure
Yeah,
what takes them so long.
let's brighten the mood a bit. Let's talk about new and upcoming alliances.
New and upcoming alliances.
So we got Trigger Happy, which is run by Kendar, who is an old Goons Form FC that ran Space Violence. They seem to be getting a fair few good fights in Tribute and Pureblind. Have you been looking at them recently?
Yeah, I have. Like we talked about it earlier, and I think they, yeah, it's a nice group, and they're growing still, which is really good. They're fighting a lot of Try and C.
Yeah,
They've been fighting us?
yeah.
Yeah,
You guys
yeah,
got
we have.
absolutely dumped
Who? What?
like an hour ago. Yeah, you got absolutely dumped an hour ago as a Frog.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't aware. I wasn't there either. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're good guys. Very experienced FCs, obviously. And, yeah. What else do we have upcoming alliances-wise? We've got Trigger. Who else do we have?
I just wanted to give a shout out to Kenda's Alliance. To be honest, there's not really any.
I
That's also
know.
another problem. There's no fresh blood in the game right now. Just
Yeah,
people
because
that
it's a
have the will
struggle.
to. Exactly.
I mean, everything that's worth it should be a struggle to a degree. And I think the community or like FCs and stuff have shown in the past that they're willing to go through a lot of shit to reap the benefits. It's very clear. But at some point it's getting just too much. It's just getting too hard for FCs to have, like, on average, have fun in the game. Right? That's what you're always aiming for. Like, if I do 20 ops on average, I need to get something out of it fun-wise, like for my guys or for myself. Obviously, NFC always enjoys a fleet when the fleet's happy, right? And I think that's getting harder and harder. That's why we have a lot of people, quit and do other things and stuff like this.
Yeah, I'm excited to see you at Eve London Panda. We can.
It's gonna be good times.
Is there going to be any higher ups from CCP there that we can like corner and then bully?
Yeah, we're gonna kidnap them. We're gonna kidnap Hilmer. He's gonna
See
be
if you
there,
can
right?
film. Nice. There you go, Panda. We can sit him down on a table and make him listen to our ideas.
We shouldn't even say that. We might get banned, guys. Stop it.
Oh, I
Let's
mean
switch
it like
topic.
a way.
In-game, guys, in-game. But yeah, Eve London's gonna be good. Kenda, you, Shine's gonna be there. I think Blizz is not gonna make it for the Eve event. He's gonna be coming back on that Sunday. So I'm not sure. I mean, you live in London, right?
Well, I live close enough, but I will be there.
Yeah, so we're gonna be still around doing like init things on Sunday. But yeah, the Eve event is only going to be Saturday, which is kind of weird. Like the Eve events, they seem very different. Like Eve Vegas or FanFest, it's like a multi-day event, while Eve London just seems to be like one evening with like maybe one presentation or something.
Yeah.
Very small compared to that.
Yeah, it's better though, Panda. It means you can get, as I said, you can get Hilmar drunk and you can make him listen to your. I meant it in
Yeah.
a friendly way. I didn't mean kidnap him, alright? I was just being friendly.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, it's a friendly kidnapping. We're kidnapping him like with niceness.
Yeah. That's actually a very English thing, where if you're in like a restaurant or something, you'll kind of like you'll feel bad if you don't do certain things. Like if they're like, you should try this and this and this, or like certain things like that, you'll always like go with it because it's a very English thing to be peer pressured by like staff and stuff. It's very. But anyways, I digress. What's left on the list?
What's left on the list? Alright, super fucking hyped. Triglavian Dread. I don't care. Do you care?
No, because I want the actual game to be fixed.
Yeah, I mean, same here. I don't think that. It looks cool. I mean, yeah, good shit. I mean, so from a game like development perspective, you always have to think the guys that make the changes that we want are not the guys working on a Triglavian Dread. So nobody's building, like making those models or whatever is busy with this, and that's why the game is not fixed. So I'm not mad about the trick Levine Dread or any of that. It's a new ship, and the balancing part might just take some dev time out of stuff we want fixed, but it's not going to be significant. So whatever, looks good. All right. So the next on the list though, ACL based bookmarks. What's your opinion on that? I do have a strong opinion actually. What do you have?
I didn't know what does that mean? What's an
So
ACL base?
so if you make bookmarks now, you have the bookmarks or your corp has the bookmarks. But now
Oh,
when
I
the
see.
change comes, you can give people, you can give me access even though I'm not in your
Mm,
corp. So I have the corp the bookmark access to the High Wanto treasure hunt bookmarks, you know.
I mean, I can understand that's a good thing, but I'm sure that will be abused in some way
So
down the line.
what I think is, I mean, I like it. It's especially who have for people who have ever mapped wormholes and stuff. For wormholers, that's going to be quality of life tenfold. Um, it also helps a chunk of big groups though, like bigger groups, big coalitions. ACL is always great for them, and I think ACL everything is not a good approach. ACL jump bridges, ACL tenor breaks, Sino beacons, and ACL citadels. I think that all of that is not a good thing in general because it's way easier for big coalitions to get organized and give access and make their shit stronger. And
Yeah.
it always pushes, it gives, if it helps big coalitions, um, I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm really not. And I would profit a lot from that stuff because we're doing we call it the wormhole crew. That's like the guys that always map drifter wormholes and other wormhole chains and stuff like this. And it's gonna be so easy. All right. Oh, you got the bookmarks? Yep. Shared. Done. So I'm gonna have access to all these bookmarks all the time. I don't have to ask for warpits on it. It's quality of life for me, but still, I'm not a fan of it because it's gonna make coalition stuff easier. And I think bookmarks are actually the smaller problem. Bookmarks, you might make an argument that it can create content too. So it's not like this is a big issue, but the ACL approach to things in general, I think, is.
Yeah. Pando, do you get tired of Dark Shrines carrying you in PvP?
In PUBG. Yeah, he's Darkshine's the machine. Yeah, I do get tired of that. I always feel a little bit bad. But yeah, I think he enjoys carrying me, so it's all good. As long as he gets some enjoyment out of it.
Is he one of the people that would rage really hard?
No. I've never heard Shine's rage, really. I mean, not in PUBG.
I've heard him rage in Eve.
In Eve, yes, I think.
He
But
rages
it's
all the time.
rare. It's rare.
I've had him rage many times.
I would think an NFC that rages too easily, that's a sign of weakness.
Yeah, but it also makes people listen when they're angry.
Yeah, that in that particular moment, yes. But you can't take someone serious who's constantly raging. I can't.
True.
Like, if
But
you do that every now and then and you get loud, I think that's fine. Or you have a Pro Legend or someone,
okay,
I
yeah,
don't know,
Pro Legend
where
is a
it's
bit
getting,
extra.
yeah, but then it's part of entertainment, so people enjoy it. Then it's a different approach to it. I think that it's fine. But
I mean, sometimes they need shouting.
sometimes what?
You need to shout at.
Oh yeah, sometimes you have to shout at people a little bit, but I don't have to shout much. I don't think Shines gets loud very often. Rage leads to people making mistakes or just switch off. Yeah, well, it also makes people listen, but it's just a temporary solution, I think. So if you shout at people, they're gonna be more focused for a short while, and then maybe they don't show up for the next op. because they don't want to get shouted at.
Nah. Normally, when I used to shout at people, it'd be more of like a sort of shut out type of thing, like as a general thing, not based on one, not more like the general performance. So, you know, that's what I mean.
Yeah, I can't even. I've not been on many ops with you guys on comms, so I've never heard you rage or shout at people or anything. But I
Nah,
can't
Tao not.
imagine you getting loud a whole lot. Tao,
Nah,
maybe. I can see
that's
Tao
why.
definitely. Tao gets loud
Why when
sometimes, right?
Tao definitely Tao gets mad. There's like loads of videos of Tao. Like
Oh
he
yeah.
like he stopped raging. Like he barely raged in like this year, but like when he was in PM, he'd rage all the time. But yeah, no, if I rage, then people know that like I'm properly angry. Like I barely ever. I've
Yeah, not
never had you rage.
yeah, I never rage. I wouldn't say never. I raged not too long ago. I raged at people, and then I actually, like a week later, so I went to them and actually apologized because I felt bad about it. But
Yeah, I
I
do that
never
too.
rage actually. All right.
Who
So
would you say is the angriest FC you've ever met?
the angriest FC ever met. When Bliss gets angry, he gets really angry. Like he's like threatening people to get kicked and stuff like this. So he can, if he loses his mind, he gets really angry. But in general,
This is the only guy that says Portal left in the game.
it's not true. If you watch like old Rooks and Kings videos, for example, they
Left in
also
the
say
game.
Portal. Left in
Left
the
in the
game,
game.
left in the game. Yeah, that's true. I sometimes like I think it was it yesterday or 2 days ago. I did an op and I actually said Portal, just thinking about exactly that. Not even kidding. I'm not sure who brought it up before, but yeah, I said Portal too, just for fun. But yeah, nobody else does, I think. Oh yeah, Grath. I've never flown with him though, so it's always funny to see like a video of someone raging. But if you don't know what happened, I can't really put it into perspective. So if the context is missing, I don't know. So I would have to say Bliss, even though he doesn't rage very much. Why? Who's the most ragey guy you know?
Hmm.
Is it Tao?
Tao doesn't really rage much anymore. Who's the most recent FC I saw rage? I mean, technically, I was the most recent FC to rage. But I don't know. Nobody really. I guess PGL probably is the most rowdy.
But like I said,
He's just loud. Yeah.
but that's half entertainment, you know.
Yeah,
He
that's
he got
true.
his rage is too fun for people to take it serious. It's like I wouldn't say superpower, but it's a good tool to have. Like I never mastered that one. Like I can't rage at people in a funny way. Or maybe I can, I don't know. Maybe I have to discover it still. But yeah. Alright, so on my list left heavy anti-capital bomb thingy. So those heavy bombs, we talked about that.
Yeah, we
When is
did.
it coming? Yeah, bring it on, right? Possible structure timer, low power changes, that's what we talked about too. Oh yeah, so asset safety tax. That goes into incentive to kill citadels. And I don't want to ramble on about citadels again, but I think it would be better for loot to drop than giving people like giving the attackers or the killers of a citadel like the ISK of asset safety fees or whatever. But I mean, it's something. I'm not gonna complain if it comes. What's your take on it?
Well, I completely zoned out. What was the last thing you said?
Like that. So they
What the
brought
fuck?
in asset safety tax. They're thinking about it or something. So
Asset safety tags.
so
Oh,
no,
tag.
no, that's how I wrote it down. So let me explain. So when you kill a citadel right now, you don't get anything basically, unless you're in Warman space. But then you would have the attacker would get the tax people have to pay for the asset safety. So if I kill your citadel, you pay 100 bill to transport your shit from A to B by asset safety, I would get that ISK. At least that's how I understand it. Someone correct me if I'm wrong here. So what do you think about that? Or parts of that? Yeah, parts of the ISK at least.
Yes, but like I don't know how they'd implement that in a way because let's look at Rakabas for example. We used to have at our peak, I think we had 30 citadels there, and our stuff's only really in one citadel. So you're really not going to make much money out of you bashing those 30 citadels. And if you just kind of do that, but on like a regional scale, you wouldn't make a massive amount of money from doing that. It's still kind of negligible unless you literally hit the stages. And if you hit a stage and then you just get brought by like 10,000 people, I think there needs to be like a smaller reward out of citadels.
Yeah, but so every citadel is anchored for a reason. So if it's easy enough to kill it and enough incentive, there's a sweet spot there, I would think. So if it's not 3 timers per Raitaru or Astrals, and every Astrals or Raitaru is used for something, let it be some clones on there or whatever, or
You can't
someone
asset
has
safety clear.
his, yeah, okay, but let's say that there's just some ships in there. I would still think, even if it's like 100 mil, that's not an incentive. But if a couple ships would drop, like, I don't know, maybe there's a Domi dropping or something, that would at least be something. It would always give you that feel of like, oh, we don't know what's gonna drop here. It could be, something funny. And I think that would be just way better. I would just argue everything should drop, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. I think there should just be like a set amount of things that drop. Like, say you have 100 ships in a citadel, like 50 at random. No, well, not 50. Like I don't know, like 30% of the ships in there will just randomly be picked, and they'll be locked away after the armor
Yeah.
time or something. And,
Yeah, I made a suggestion to that like a while ago on Reddit. Out of all places. You said it before, Reddit is kinda, it's a shit place.
Reddit's really bad.
Yeah, and it's bad for the game too. We need new
Yeah, it's
guys.
really
We
toxic.
need new players come in, they check out that Reddit, they're not gonna play Eve. They're not. Right?
Yeah, it's massively toxic.
Yeah. It's completely lost, that place. But yeah, I made some shit. If someone's interested, I might just be able to link it. Or maybe it's Fobber here or so. Maybe one of you guys can quickly link it. But yeah. To asset safety, it's a more complex issue than we just can like hit on right now. I think we would have to go like super far into detail, and I personally don't feel like doing that right now. It's maybe like a long discussion in itself. So what's next on the list is like faction warfare fixes. I have no idea what faction warfare. Like, it's in lowsec, so I guess you guys have more of an idea what faction warfare needs or does or whatever. I used to be in faction warfare when it first came out, but that's basically it. Completely different now. I don't know what faction warfare fixes they announced. Do you have any idea?
I don't know, but knowing CCP, it's probably going to be something really bad. It'll be like the way they fix Solve, I bet, and it will just be absolutely horrendous. It'll be like in Toastis's based or something, surely, knowing CCP, right? Can you imagine? I don't know. I don't
Uh,
think it'll.
I hope not. Yeah. Yeah, you might be right.
I don't know. I mean, it does need to rebalance, and like anything that supports smaller scale content, that's kind of locked to smaller scale content, I'd massively support. But it needs to be done in a correct way. I don't think CCP has the actual know-how.
That you say smaller scale content or content in
Yeah,
general. The
yeah,
warp
for
speed,
small scale content.
but the warp speed changes, for example, they were great, right?
Yeah, those are good.
That was I didn't even expect that one. People have been asking for that for a while, and they just tweaked it and they went further than we expected. That was really good. And I have not seen anyone complain about that one yet. so good job there. And we talked about the blackout before. What else is left here? Let's see. Oh yeah, that's a good question actually. We talked about Eve London too. So, is there any ship or ship type you would love to fly if it was viable right now? Like, is there something that you would love to fly? I have a guess what you're gonna say, but you know, what ship type or ship would you love to fly that you can't
Well, the
fly
one
right now?
ship I've always wanted to fly, and it's just been so expensive and not enough in the game. It's the Bargas because it looks. What were you
Because it
thinking
looks
I was
awesome.
gonna say?
I was gonna think you say battleships in general.
Yeah, battleships in general, but that's more of a class. I just thought you meant a specific ship because they have like the application bonus, like the velocity bonus, and the Bargas, and they look really
Yeah.
fun. Like, yeah, they do look quite fun, but yeah, they're
When we first
ridiculous.
did the Ravens and stuff, I was looking at Bargas too, obviously, as like a more expensive, like shiny, but it's not that much better than the Raven for what the Bush Ravens did. And Bush Ravens, you know, coming back to the Busher thing, that's another thing I could talk about for hours. So sad about this whole Busher thing. I mean, obviously, that's my thing. Like I like to bush around and stuff. But I think the whole Bush Raven thing, it was like people were spinning this out of proportion, saying there's an issue. But have you seen many Bush Raven fleets around do stuff? Did you think Bush Ravens were an issue in general? Or like maybe I'm missing something, I don't know. When was the last time you saw a Bush Raven fleet?
Like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, when we killed H-5, right?
Yeah, that was actually quite fun.
That was a really good fight. And that it would have never happened without MGDs. Would have never happened. Like,
I
how are you
remember
gonna
that,
do
and
that?
like goons were quite like. I think it was Asher who was like, "This isn't gonna work," and then we were like, "Yeah, yeah,
Kenda. It
what?"
was Kenda.
Oh, it's Kendall, yeah,
There's a
yeah.
famous quote. Hmm.
And then I was like, "No, it's fine," and we both like, we did it mainly because of you, but it worked well.
It was, I mean, it was a chance. We didn't have a guarantee. But yeah, it was Kenda saying, no, 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 they're gonna have all their Titans and Supers there. We can't really do it and stuff like this. And they just started the deployment, so it would be bad for their deployment to start on a high, getting that fight. Um, so he was a little bit worried about that. And then there's a famous quote from Shines actually going, there's a screenshot somewhere, I'm sure. But he said, like, Kenna, stop. Sometimes you have to uh, grab the glory by the balls and drag it alongside you. And then we all agreed we're gonna do it. Yeah, it was a really good fight. That was a really good one. That FC, by the way, one of the most hateful little shits in the game. I forgot his name, but yeah. Just saying.
Killer B.
I don't want to make it political here, but no, it wasn't Killer B. Killer B was there then to support him, but he already fucked it up majorly. So no, it wasn't Killer B, guys. I think Killer B, like, he's not a hateful dude. He's a
Wait, no,
decent guy
the
actually.
FC NC don't you?
Yeah, that, like,
That was nice.
huh?
That was nice as far.
No,
Yeah, it was.
no,
He was FCing the supers. Yeah, he was.
no. That's not who I meant.
Are you talking about the subcap FC? I can't remember the name of the subcap FC.
Yeah, I forgot too, but yeah, he kept talking shit like crazy, like years after. So yeah, it was a good one. It was a really good one. And you know what? Sadly, I went over some videos the other day making a top 10, 15 like YouTube selection and stuff. There's no good video of that fight. There's like, you see some stuff, but yeah, sadly. Yeah, exactly. Ashen got it. That's the guy. I don't want to shit talk anyone, but that guy kinda deserves it. Most hateful shit I've ever met. I didn't even meet, but yeah. There you go.
Who are you thinking?
Putting that out there.
I really can't remember the name of.
Yeah, now that I
Alpha
read him,
Star.
yeah. No, Brother Bob. That's the guy.
Oh, brother Bob. Oh, he still plays.
You subscribe to Panda?
Yeah, I think so.
That's
Yeah,
so
he's the
high.
NC.main USCZFC. He
Yeah.
can FC Supers and Dimes.
Maybe it changed all the time. I don't know him well. I just know whatever.
Yeah, he was in E as well, if that surprises you.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
He was in
But
SE
that
and
explains maybe a
he,
couple things too.
he made massive amounts of drama.
Yeah.
It was funny. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I don't wanna make it political or like shit talk anyone. But yeah, if
It's not.
if you talk shit and you're a hateful, dude, that's what you get, I
Calm
guess.
down, Panda. It's a game.
Yeah,
You talk a bit of shit.
that's all fine.
Some people deserve it as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Thanks for the sub, Hestra.
Yeah. Nah, it's fine. Guys,
Alright.
what have we got left on the list?
So what's left on my list? So I've got some general questions still on the list. Should we just go through that stuff? Like general stuff about you guys.
You subscribe to Pando?
So
That's so hot.
the first question for you guys would be, what makes you guys, do you think, so good at dread bombs, for example, which is mostly what you're known for?
So hot.
Hey, thanks for the subs, guys.
What made us
Much
so good at
appreciated.
Dreadbomb?
Much appreciated.
Well, it was the way. It's basically down to the FCs. So like, we would find a target. So for example, let's say test. Test, I kind of the FC quality of test, shall we say, is quite bad, and they were like their super fleet was an armor super fleet really that they used to defend their crabs. Yeah, so it's a smallish target because their main bulk is shield. You look at the time, so their shield fleet was deployed away, so they only have armor titans there. And then you kind of have to work on the execution. And the way to do big dread bombs, the only way you can like execute it is by being clean of spies. And we worked very hard to be as clean as we could of spies. And obviously there would slip in and things. We'd know we'd have spies and we'd have to deal with it and stuff. And if you don't have a spy from that group, it means you can dread bomb them and you can get sneaky like dreads in position. The whole point of dread bombing is based off surprise. If they know you're coming, it doesn't work. You'll get absolutely decimated. For example, Darkshine's baiting out the PL dread bomb. He knew they were coming. He absolutely decimated them.
No, we had no idea. They must have come from NPC farm. That's what we told them at the time.
But I'm gonna do a big reveal now as well. And
all right, bring it on.
I already told him I done this as well. So NC Dot had a spy in Snuff, and we found it. We got rid of it, and then they approached one of our members. And this is a very stupid thing to do. They approached one of our members, and they were like, "Hey, Lazuli did this when he was running it, Lazuli Loto." And he approached one of our members, and he was like, "Hey, would you like to spy for NC Dot?" And obviously, the guy just tells me. So what we do is we make a fake relay, and I end up being the NC spy. And I end up being the NC spy for Snuff for I think 1.5 years to 2 years, where in such battles such as 6RC and I think in X47 as well, where I was giving fake intel. And like it was so good because it asked like it's Snuff forming for this and we just know that they're coming to times and stuff. It was amazing. Like that was probably the best counter intelligence stuff we've done ever. Like it was amazing. It was so good. And we also could see like the other spies and who else had spies in other groups and stuff because it was all in the same Discord and all these
Aye.
And it was really good. Nah, yeah, like we also had one of the biggest spy networks in the game. You need to be well informed to do dread bombs. It's all about timing, not being seen, not knowing that you're not seen, and then the execution is down to the FC. And obviously we had like Tao, who's really talented at these type of things, and he'd do most of the work, and normally his work would pay off. The test dread bomb was actually a really big pain to actually execute because we had to get dreads from Delve all the way up into Stain without being seen, and that was a lot of work. Like, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of work to do, and it's all about picking the right time.
Yeah, I think so. That's the next question right under that. It's like, how did you guys manage to stay OPSEC? Because I kind of expect, I kind of know how a dread bomb works, even though I don't do a lot of dread bomb stuff?
Well, that's the thing. We normally invite like the init trusted guys, or like init would know about our dread bombs, right? Like for example, you or Darkshines would know. Like you were at the NC dread bomb, for example. You we basically invite the people we trust, right? So we trust our members, right? Because we prune them, and then if we need more people, we'd use trusted groups. It's all about trusting people. You need to trust people basically, and then you expect them not to leak, which
Yeah,
you guys never did.
but if so, there's a fine line there, and like if you trust people too much, you're in trouble. If you don't trust them at all, that's not good either. You need to, people need to know what's going on to a degree, but they can't know it all. It's so there's a fine line of doing that. And then for the next question would be not only like how did you guys stay opposite, but for that long time. So you guys have been around for so long, and usually the older a group is, the more spies get into that group over time. But you always manage to filter them out somehow, and no group that's like as big or like as notorious or whatever is ever going to be fully spy free, but you always managed it to some degree.
I mean, we always stayed small. We've always like heavily multi-boxed, right? And also, we were quite artistic with our spy checking, and you have to remember that we were giving our guys like really good content, right? We did the best to get our guys content with asking the kind of the least. Like we expected them a lot from them in fleets, but nothing really outside of that. And if you're getting the best content and you're like getting the best out of the game, then you don't really want to spy, which kind of meant that like or like leak and stuff, because it's going to be a detriment to yourself, because they still have like the line members still have to do a lot of work to like actually put off dread bombs as well, because they have to come to our fleets and stuff. It's like one of those things, and they knew to not leak and stuff. It's basically just they know the reward they get as well. It's like a lot of different things, but yeah, it's just basically just being down to trusting people and like having a small core of people that can do a lot, and then just when you need the extra numbers, inviting people you trust.
Yeah, which is one of those interesting parts about Eve. As bitter as we can be about certain things, that's like the social aspect of it. There's no other game has stuff like this OPSEC stuff. Like it makes it just so unique that you have to think about these kind of things, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like every single one of our dread bombs wasn't unscouted. We had loads of dread bombs that got scouted, right? It's how it. And then you just kind of like, okay, well, this is done then. Yeah, it's basically that. It happens.
Yeah, I've been there with you guys. Sometimes happens. But I mean, better scouted and then cancelled than being scouted and not realizing. That's another thing. You need to realize you got scouted and all that stuff. If you then drop, like PL did, we knew about them, and they dropped on us, and we were well prepared and just wiped them out. So it's there's a lot of things that you have to consider there.
Yeah. So that was like also our spies. Like we literally had one of the best spy networks in the game. That's literally if you have the intel, you can do a lot of things. It's very expensive, but like to maintain. And that's the other thing. Like it's down to the mentality of the group. You're never going to be able to do stuff when your leaders kind of care more about diplomacy and making money and RMTing money, or just like their own ego, because you have to keep pumping money into stuff. Like we never made money really. Like our wallet would just bounce up and down. And towards the end of stuff, we were making a fair amount of money. To be fair, it was like we were making probably close to 100 bill a month, which is a lot for us. And
Yeah,
but
that's a lot.
We'd be SFPing like a trillion-esque a year or more normally. So we weren't making money, and that's kind of how it should be, right? You put the money into the content, which a lot of
that's how I run my corp. Right? So we get money, I spend it on the guys that are active. I might not just spend it all in day one, but in general, like I'm not in charge of the ISK and init, but that's how I do. Like I totally agree. That's how it should be. The money you get in, you should reinvest into activity for the dudes that are active, and not just stockpile stuff or whatever. I'm not a fan of that. Yeah,
exactly.
And then, so for the dread bomb stuff, like, has there ever been like a dread bomb or like any op that was prepared like extensively like to a high degree that never happened because maybe you got scouted or maybe you got I don't know, maybe there's a spy on there or whatever, and then you had to cancel? Was there any of like, I mean, there were ops like that, but like, is there any
There's a
op that
famous,
sticks
there's a
out?
famous, there's a famous one where we had. This is another stain one. This is after the first initial test one, where we were moving a dread bomb, and we got scouted by a test character, and that goes down in history of snuff because
By a test character?
just a random roaming test character scouted us. And we just got
But like, how much work went into that one? Like all the
Oh,
prep
so
and
we were
stuff.
like going across Dane and we just kept losing like a couple of dreads like across the way just to like Stain campus and stuff. It was horrible. Yeah, Stain's a
Uh,
horrible region because it's so big. But yeah, no, like those type of things happen. But like the best execution, like the best executed dread bombs are normally down to pure luck. For example, you were there at the M-01 one. That was a really good dread bomb. Um, the test one is a really good one as well. Like it's more down to like what they commit. There's so many different factors. It's like time essence, like what you have on grid. So for example, the test one, we went in, we bombed when there was too much on grid and we couldn't kill much more anymore. You bombed off the bubbles, we jumped out. It's quite clean. Same for the NC one. We caught them off guard, we killed a lot, we jumped out.
yeah, I mean, that's always key. When you jump in with the dread bomb, it's a very simple calculation. Like, are you gonna kill enough so it's worth losing all the dreads? And then, how big is the chance that you might even save a couple of those dreads? And yeah, it's simple math, but all the prep and before, there's a lot of work that goes into that. To make it also OPSEC, you have to have the right guys and all that stuff. Otherwise, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it non-stop.
It's not easy. It's a lot of work and
Once you're on grid, it's easy.
it doesn't work on big groups. Yeah. Well, even once you're on grid, you still have to call the right targets and you can't.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not that hard to call the right targets. You call for the most value for EHP, basically. That's what you do. Like if it's a super, like if it's an armor super cap fleet that's jumping in and there's one rag, guess what? The rag is primary.
Thing is, though, dread bombs are satisfying, but the most satisfying things for us were always going to be the full escalations, such as like the Ojanian fight where we killed two revenants. I think that's like the favorite of town, also my favorite. Like dread bombs are fun, but like where it's a fight and you just get really bloody and you start fully escalating like O1Y and like
F7C.
Ojanian, yeah, F7C. Those are the most fun fights in my opinion because
Yeah.
those you remember much more than dread bombs.
That is, you know what? I totally agree. And when you say like the test dread bomb or end, I don't even remember those. Like, I think MTech O was the one where we hit GOTG. I'm not sure though.
That show was the one where we bombed NC.time.
I don't
It
even
was the
remember
three
that one.
and the three nexus. Yeah, let's see. Yeah.
I will always remember like H-5 obviously, where we killed a couple of titans and supers and shit. And that was a struggle. That was a struggle too. Keeping it together for such a long time. I mean, that's I don't wanna go onto a rant of bushing nerf. I mean, it's probably gonna end up on Reddit if I lose my mind on on it right now. But yeah, I don't know why people think this is OP. Like only people who have never run a Bush Raven fleet think it's OP. That's the thing. That's the funniest part. But yeah. Yeah. I think we've run 2 hours something.
Yeah.
I usually aim for 2 hours. So if we have any special questions or something, guys, put them in chat right now. I might just be able to bring something up. Other than that, do you have anything on your mind that you might want to bring in? I mean, you're always very outspoken, so maybe you have something.
Well, it's more just don't put the time into the game. Don't put. I don't see the game. If you're a hardcore PvPer, or like a hardcore F1 own fleets and stuff, just don't. I would say just kind of like weigh up what would be better like to do with your time, like bash this citadel or like go outside and like actually do something more fun. It's just all like Rome or something. I just feel like the amount of time people put in the game these days just isn't worth it, and I want CCP to kind of realize it and change it. And the only way for that to happen is kind of people to stop doing those things. So I don't know, just kind of like think about things a bit more, I guess, as like people as line members matter. And I know that sounds really cliche and like stupid and stuff, but like the only way CCP is really going to do stuff is if people actually start thinking about these things and kind of like just stopping doing. I'm sure people don't enjoy Citadel bashing and stuff like that, right? And the need to. That's basically it.
Which is, I mean, it's sad. Like it's a sad message. I tend to agree to that. That I feel like whatever you do in the game, if you get active at the moment, I feel like CCP is just gonna grab it and take credit. Look, we like this is like our creation. While there's you're trying your hardest to make something happen despite them. Even though they are the devs and they're doing this stuff, even though they're fucking it up, you're still active, and it's not because they're doing such a great job. Right? And I think that's the perspective they have. Like whatever you do in the game right now, at the moment, I'm not gonna tell anyone to not do anything. I would love for everyone to be undocked and do stuff. I love it. Right? Everyone get active. But if we would all get active right now, then CCP wouldn't see the need to change anything, and that wouldn't be good.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a tricky spot. It really is a tricky spot, but what are you gonna do? Like if we stay docked, that's not gonna help anyone either. So
I'm not saying stay docked. I'm saying do something more productive at your time in the game, or just like you ignore the things that.
oh, you mean yeah, just go roam with your friends, do some shit.
Yeah.
And instead of like
Exactly.
ignore all the soft stuff and citadels and all that stuff.
Yeah, things that are so
Yeah,
time intensive.
that would be nice. Would be super nice if people would just say, okay, forget about all the political parts, like taking space, taking whatever citadels and stuff, and just do the fun stuff. And then, at the moment we've got the warp speed changes. At the moment it's a little bit better now. But yeah, that would be good to have more activity all around. Hopefully we'll see more activity with the thingy changes. Alright, so let me see. Yeah, put an zehPando there so I can actually see the questions like Blackbird did. It's way easier. I'm probably gonna see the ones that are up right now. So there was one in chat earlier about High's future. Will he stick to low life or whatever the new approach is called?
Yeah, but just that's like whoever wanted to stay in like the Black Rise area, and I'm just gonna basically just do a couple roams here and there. I'm basically retired from the game, and so is Tao. He'll also join me, and he will be more retired than I am. I'm just gonna retire.
Next question. What's the best EU time zone alliance to get PvP nowadays?
Trigger happy, but a lot of people are joining them, and once too many people join them,
They're not small scale anymore. They're too big.
And once I get too many people, nobody's gonna fight them anymore, and then Kendall's gonna.
I'll fight them.
Nobody wants to fight you. Nobody wants to fight you, Panda.
I'll bring Stukas.
Yeah, nobody wants to fight Panda.
No, I'm gonna bring some. I've got a doctrine I'm working on. I'm thinking about bringing on. It's nothing groundbreaking. It's gonna be an old doctrine, but with a little bit of a more effective approach, I think. So I'm gonna bring those out. I'm gonna visit Kenda and the boys and see, because I mean, Kenda is a really good FC. His group is experienced, so if I can make it work against him, I can probably make it work against basically everyone, right? So yeah, I'm gonna visit Kenda, and then also, if I whelp a fleet, that's a big thing too. If I whelp a fleet, I don't feel bad whelping it to Kenda's boys. If I would whelp it into NC Dot, into Supers and Titans, then I would feel bad about it.
Groups like Kenda, they might be a bit scared of you, right? So normally what you gotta do, Panda, is, and this is quite
They would be scared of
trick.
me? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's a trick. You feed them a little bit, right? And then they'll be more committal next time, and you just absolutely dumpster them, right? That's how you do it, Panda. You gotta scare, you
Yeah,
gotta make it
yeah. I try. Yeah, I'll visit them with like I would say a group like less than 50.
Well, they're hitting your rent right now, so
Yeah, they're having good fights. It's not like they're not focusing or also they're not. Are they renters? I'm not even sure.
they are.
Yeah, maybe. Let me scroll up. The meta's alphing ships counter. I should stop kissing girls and start playing. Yeah, this girl kissing stuff, it's taken over.
Okay,
I mean,
Panda, I'll give you this as well.
oh yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. But not even kidding. Like one of the reasons why Tao doesn't have much time is he got a girlfriend or whatever, right? Or is that wrong? Is that like just some troll?
Yeah. His woman came back into us.
Yeah. I mean, Bliss is gonna say no, but that happened to Bliss too. Like he has way less time. So, yeah. Such is life. Honey Monster, PUBG, yeah. Let's play some PUBG later. Or like after this. Come on, partner, we want that fight. That's one of Kenda's boys, I'm sure.
Is it true that Darkshines has a Leviathan?
I don't think so. I've not seen it, no.
I have.
Oh, Masvidal Diaz? Oh, Lost Taro. Oh, it's a lost boy. So who know? You know for sure that I'm an MMA fan, right? I think Diaz. So there you go. I'm gonna visit you guys Saturday then. I'm gonna be on your Discord, Mumble then. If you guys still want me. Sorry, and you were talking about. Did I interrupt you? You were saying something.
No, I said does Darkshines have a Leviathan?
No, he doesn't. Like, what?
Sure.
Why would he?
I swear I've seen him in a Leviathan. Shines.
I'm losing track of all his fucking titans and stuff. He probably does. I don't know. He did? There you go.
Do you sell it?
Banders and FXR are renters? No, I don't think so, actually. There's a little bit of an agreement.
Pretty sure they.
Maybe they are. I don't know. I don't run the renter stuff anymore. Tao has a wife. Hai has a wife. I'm pretty sure you don't. You're not married, but Jonas doesn't have a wife. Like Jonas Snuff Leader. Yeah.
How is 17? He's too young.
That's perfect. When you were 17, you were full of energy and, you know.
Oh.
That's not a bad age. We need younger players in the game.
The thing about Jonas is that he's failing at school and he's a rich Swiss boy, and his dad said that if he doesn't do well in his first year, he won't get like a Rolex and like I think a Rolls Royce or something. So yeah, Jonas has to focus on his education, right? It's very sad.
What you gonna do? His ex, lol, he got scammed. She promised to double whatever. He went back to his ex. Lol, 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 lol. Oh dear. Alright, if we don't have any questions left, then let me thank you for coming on. I enjoyed it very much, and I hope CCP does at least like half the stuff we talked about and we asked for at some point.
So do I.
And then there's gonna be a new golden age, and we can, you know, fly in a lot of wars together again.
Yep, and I'll come back. But yeah, thanks for having me, Panda.
Yeah, was a pleasure. And I hope the guys on stream enjoyed it too. Thanks for the subs and bits and chit chat. As always, I couldn't follow the chat while we were talking, but I hope that I, you know, approach the questions at the end kind of makes up for it. So I will post this to YouTube, yeah. And the Talking in Stations guys are actually helping me putting this out as a podcast. So all the podcast platforms, it's gonna be on there in 24 hours, because there's a rule with Twitch. Live content has to be exclusive just for Twitch for 24 hours. So in 24 hours it will be on YouTube and all the podcast thingies, and on the podcast thingies it's gonna be under Talking in Station somewhere. It's not that hard to find, I would guess. Yeah, so thanks everyone for watching, and see you guys around.